You are tuning into Session 5 of Shadow of the Ancients, titled The DredgeWays. In the last session, the players found themselves in the city of Ravenport. Sebastian, having just recently left the group, was busy searching for answers, searching to understand what his purpose was as a convoker, searching to come to terms with who he was. While the rest of the party sat around Fulgrim, who was lying on death's door, a bite from one of the sleepers at the Quiet Keeps, infecting his bloodstream. They went to find him, and after an encounter with a group known as the Branded, they were able to get Sebastian back, who quickly informed them that Fulgrim was far beyond his ability to heal. They then decided that the only way to take care of Fulgrim, to save him, was to take him to Whitespire, the capital of Talmor, where there the apothecary guild, known as the Sons of Preservation, would be able to take care of him, would be able, hopefully, to cure him. But we now go back into the catacombs, the place where Ithar led the group, upon realizing that the Reclamation was surrounding the city. Down in the catacombs, they found the Branded, and that is where we left off. The people surround you as you step into this large open area, kind of like the central part of a causeway where everything kind of comes together, except for everything's dried up. Whatever water might have been flowing through here, you see now that the entranceway is sealed by a large metal door, kind of like a covering to a manhole of sorts. This metal door that covers the causeway, the sewer system beneath the port city of Ravenport. And as you begin to become surrounded by these people, Ithar kind of steps forward and says, "Take us to Rhea." One of them, the man that you threw ink in his eyes, Sebastian, it's still kind of stained. He kind of draws a dagger from his waist and starts walking towards you, and Ithar steps forward. "I said, take us to Rhea. We're friends, we know her." The man is just staring at you, Sebastian, vehemence in his eyes. Eventually, as the stare down draws to an end, he concedes and turns, leading you through the crowd until you arrive at a large kind of staging platform of sorts. Kind of isolated from everything else, large stacks of crates lying on the floor on this dirty concrete, or I guess dirty flagstone beneath this city. And up on the platform, on this wooden construction, this stockade of sorts, you can see several people moving back and forth, and a woman who kind of speaks with confidence, talking to each of them and directing matters. And she would look at you, and her frown would deepen, and she'd kind of usher you guys up onto the stage and kind of shoo away the rest of these individuals. "So, Ithar, who are these?" And she would just kind of turn and look at you guys, let you introduce yourselves.
Surprisingly, Sebastian would step up first, and he would momentarily meet eyes with this Rhea, and he would give her like a cold stare down, to which I imagine Darius and Briff are kind of surprised that I stepped up and even surprised that I'm like holding this look with her. And then I kind of cower my head down, and I'm just, I'm Sebastian Williker. And then I would step back.
Yeah, and she does not break eye contact. Like when you look down, she just keeps staring at you.
Seeing this, seeing Sebastian sort of break character momentarily, sort of displaying hasn't quite seen from him, well, ever. He sets his hand sort of on the pommel of his blade, not in a threatening manner, more just it's a convenient place to have his hand at any given time. Is to draw at any given point, and he just kind of mutters out, "Darius, little else to know." And he just kind of give her a look before sort of eyeing Sebastian curiously.
Yeah, and she would just kind of keep staring at you, Darius. Darius Corin.
He would sort of narrow his eyes and look at her. What's it to you?
Nothing yet. We'll see if you still have your spunk that you had from the war, though. And she turns and looks back at Briff now. Muted, buddy.
Okay, now I'm unmuted in both places. Alright. As we first enter this area, Briff's initial reaction is to reach for his blades, and then, he slowly starts to draw his hands away, knowing the situation that they're in. That's not going to help them. If anything, it's going to make it much, much worse. And so he constantly starts to watch, see what kinds of things are around them, taking stock of their situation. And how many people would you say he'd be able to guess there are in here?
In this area alone, I mean, people are coming and going along like these kind of causeway paths on the side of this kind of narrow channel where the water would have passed through. But currently in this room itself, you'd say anywhere between maybe 30 or 40 people.
Okay, so yeah, he takes note. We don't know these passages like these people do. They probably have them memorized or maps on them, and there's too many for us to take down. No point in trying to fight. But also, among criminals especially, the convocation is not lightly looked upon. This is no place to reveal who we are unless we have to. He watches his companions as they give their true names, and then when it comes time for him, he speaks up, giving a false name, trying to hide who he really is as much as he can. Name's Adif.
And she would kind of just stare at you. Okay. Don't see why you need to lie to me, but that's all right. And she kind of turned and looked back at Ithar. So, I'm sent for him. He should be arriving shortly. You know how he is. Likes to take his time. And Ithar would kind of nod. That he does. Dovod isn't one to be rushed. And she would kind of turn to a man who's approaching her and kind of whisper a couple words to him, and he'd walk off again. And what about the rest of the wings? How do they hold up? Ithar would kind of just like shrug. I've been busy. I don't know. And she would just kind of nod, Rhea would. All right. Well, make yourselves comfortable. You're going to be waiting for a little bit yet. I should kind of direct you guys over to a couple chairs and a table, just a place where you guys could sit down if you wanted to. And I'm assuming that you guys help Fulgrim over to like a comfortable spot. I guess essentially carry him somewhere comfortable.
We prop him up real nice.
Yeah, he looks like one of those mannequins in a wax museum.
Just kind of laying hunched over.
Yeah, kind of make it look like, cross his arms, make it look like he's just kind of leaning there trying to doze off.
And, yeah, just after being seated, Darius would, on occasion, eye Rhea. He'd try to look or think through his memory, just kind of trying to see if he recognizes her face at all, because she mentioned a war he fought in, and not many people remember infantrymen, and sort of those low tier commanders, so he is instantly wary of her, of how she knows him.
Yeah, go ahead and make me like an intelligence check to see if you can like put a place to the face in a way.
Mhm. Well, that's a natural one. Starting out strong.
Yeah, as hard as you try, you can't figure out where you know her from. I mean, like, she obviously knows you. She obviously remembers you from that war, from that fight. But you can't put a finger on her. Like, you don't know where you've seen her before or who she is from your past.
As Sebastian's walking over to the chairs that she motions, I imagine that the guy with ink still on his face is kind of standing there, like hulking over in the area. And it just so happens that the chair that Sebastian goes to is the one that he's standing nearest to. And he kind of like walks up to the chair, and he meets eye contact with this guy, and then kind of diverts his gaze and grabs onto the chair and starts like dragging it across the room as far away from him as he can. But like he's not making any effort to lift the chair, so it's just this loud like scraping chair noise in the awkward silence, and then he like momentarily stops, and the guy's still looking at him. So then he just like pulls it a bit further and sits in the opposite side of the room. Everyone's just looking at him, and he kind of just adjusts himself and starts ruffling through his bag.
Well, that happened. I'm back.
Welcome.
Yeah, Briff.
So you're talking about the loud sound, the what from the chair?
Yeah, so I'm just pulling the chair across the room to create as much distance between me and the guy. But as I'm doing so, I'm just dragging this big, heavy wooden chair that's making this loud, kind of creaking noise that is really kind of just ignorant, I guess.
Yeah, you get a lot of like looks from like people who walk past you, kind of just like, this guy, like, what the heck? Okay, and then Briff what? Sorry.
Yeah, Briff, sees these people in the operation this big, has many people in charge, and he's just kind of making sure to take stock of, where the doors are and if anything major changes in case something seems to be going on. Just kind of, if anything's out of place from when we first entered or whatever. So
yeah, maybe like after you guys, if you guys are you guys doing anything in this time that you're waiting besides just kind of sitting around?
Not Darius in particular.
I imagine I would start knitting my cloak, but other than that,
your ratty cloak, your hobo cloak.
yeah.
Okay, you start working on your hobo cloak. Okay. So while you're working on your hobo cloak, maybe like an hour or so passes before stuff actually starts to happen. You see movement towards this large kind of metal door. Kind of they slide like a big bolt across a large opening kind of appears. And they appear to be conversing with someone. The person kind of on your side nods, slides it back, and then starts rotating this huge wheel until you hear a and the door slides open, water kind of pouring out after it. Through this opening, not only does water come, but also three short and stout individuals, dwarves, step through. The door is quickly closed behind them, the water draining off into separate side passages. And brief conversation, they're kind of led over towards you. As Rhea approaches with these three dwarves, she kind of looks down at the one that's standing at the front of them and says, this is Dovod, the one we were telling you about. He's the one who'll be getting you out of the city.
Sebastian would stand up and walk over to Dovod and hold his hand out for like a handshake. And you just see this tall, lanky, greasy-haired human being in these ratty clothes just standing in front of this stout dwarf.
Dovod has this maul just resting across his shoulder. It's almost as big as he is. His red beard braided in 3 tight braids. He looks up at you. I don't know you. I'm looking for Ithar. And he swings the maul and it thunk down on the stone.
I kind of back away instinctively, just seeing the size of it. Just, my name is Sebastian. Ithar is, and I would start looking around the room like nervously now that even though she's probably like maybe right behind me, I'm like, Ithar, she's, right there. Yeah, there's Ithar.
Yeah, and she would be standing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, as you point her out to Dovod, he swings the maul back up. He looks over his shoulder. Let's go, lads. And he kind of pushes past you, heading towards Ithar.
Yeah, and you do so effortlessly. And as I watch you pass, I kind of like look over to Fulgrim, who is probably like one of my. Sebastian doesn't really know too many dwarfs that well, but his expectation was going to be that you would be similar to Fulgrim, just kind of like lighthearted and friendly. It was pretty much Sebastian's first friend. And as I look back at Fulgrim and then look at you kind of like pushing by me, you see like a frown on my face.
As Dovod walks away and approaches Ithar, he says, well, 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 by the whiskers of my beard, I never thought I'd see you again. Ithar, how long's it been?
Long enough, I would say. And she'd kind of look down at you and say, you haven't been working on your manners like I told you last time. That was rude. But it's all right. I forgive you. It's one of my greatest best qualities, I must say.
He kind of looks over his shoulder at the tall, lanky human, right? Looks at the human. Him? He's one of the ones taken out of here. You have to be kidding me.
I never said it was a posh job, Dovod. But, like I said, as always, calling in a favor.
His face kind of twists a bit, maybe wanting to say something, but he looks at her and he says, you're right. I owe you 10 times over. So if it's taking it out, I will.
But, like I always say, though, Dovod, friends, you need anything, I'll always be there. So, and she kind of extends a hand to you.
Yeah, he reaches out one of his calloused hands. It's just scarred and tattooed. You would think a man or a dwarf with hand like that would grip tightly, but he doesn't. It's a grip of friendship, not of any sort of competition.
Yeah, and as you pull your hand back, you would find in your palm a silver piece for all those drinks I owe you.
I didn't think we were keeping track, but I'll take the coin. He bites it, stuffs it into his belt.
And she would just kind of smile, and she says, well, everybody, this is Dovad. You might know him better as the leader of Dovad's Vipers. And anybody who has spent a lot of time in Talmor and Bardoth can make a history check to see if they know anything about Dovad's Vipers.
I don't imagine Darius would know anything about this because historical stations wouldn't frequent this area in the slightest.
I'd say, Briff probably would have been from within the part of the world, so I'm gonna say 12. So I roll
12. Yeah, you know a bit about Dovad's Vipers. You know that they are kind of like a vigilante band of sorts. Like they kind of the role that they fill in Bardoth and Talmor is specifically they hunt giants. They're known for taming these massive dire boars and for their effectiveness on open plains in combat. Just a very, very quick and hard, fast-striking vigilante band, really. And so Ithar would kind of lead you, Dovad, over to each of them, introducing each of the people. Sebastian, Darius, Briff, Fulgrim, and Emran, who's like the professor kind of standing in the back.
Yeah, so I rolled a 21 on my history. I imagine that it's kind of clicking in now that it's that Dovad to Sebastian. I don't know if I know anything more with a 21 then.
Yeah. With a 21, you would know that his band supposedly is about the size of maybe 70 people, like a small mercenary force. But they call them the Thunderhooves. This group of kind of direboar riders are what makes them so effective and dangerous. You know that they've been known to work very closely with the Grey Wings, who are like rogue convokers. Like they left the convocation for their own reasons, but they took their armor and their weapons and their rings with them. Again, they still serve kind of like the convocation morals, but they do it under their own terms. You know that they're most known for the Battle of King's Cross, where they managed to they took out like a camp of giants who'd hold up inside of there. Like they've done a lot of and they aren't really recognized for it because they really they did it on their own terms. They don't do mercenary work, like they get paid to do it. They mostly do it because they hold a vendetta.
Yeah, so I imagine it's kind of clicking in now that I heard the Dovad Vipers, right? And I kind of go over to Briff, and I'm just like, "Oh my, that's that Dovad! Are you freaking kidding me? I stood in front of him. Oh my god, I'm lucky he didn't take my head off. Do you know who that is?" And I'm like trying to whisper, but I'm not.
I know he leads, or they're said to lead some sort of pig riding mercenary group that hunts giants. Not much more, I'm afraid.
They're basically like legends in the underground, vigilantes who fight badass giants and ride boars bigger than you and I. He's a freaking legend.
Legends in the underground, huh? He just kind of looks at you sideways. It's like, well, wish I knew more about him. Thanks for telling me, though.
Darius would sort of be standing off to the side and sort of overhearing the conversation and sort of noting the details, especially the fact that they're giant hunters. And he would sort of walk over casually to Dovad and extend a hand and go, "Your reputation precedes you." And he would just see that this human is he is not quite as tall as Briff or Sebastian, but he definitely looks weathered. His hair is sort of graying. He's got this scraggly beard, and his his muscles look more like the practical sense, and instead of the sort of bodybuilder type athlete that Briff is. Like he's sort of the strongman build, rather.
Yeah, don't forget that stanky arm.
Yeah, the arm.
Dovard looks you up, head to toe. So you think you're something, boy? We'll find out. And he puts his hand out to you. And unlike Ithar, as he grips it, it's a firm grip. You can feel the callus on his hands. And you would also notice like this smell. It smells like dung and like musty wet fur. So you guys ready to go or what?
Yes,
Or we're
please.
gonna hang out here all day.
No, our friend's in trouble. We need to leave.
I know I'm ready to go. Assuming that as you actually know how to get out of here.
What?
What did you say? All these stories, from what I understand, you fight giants out in the open, underground.
As you're talking, Dovad turns to one of the dwarfs standing next to him and goes, Thousand, he doesn't think we know how to get out of here. Bet we know how to get out of here better than you do.
Never said I know how to get out. Basically, Briff's just kind of trying to talk tough. He sees this as a big, tough, guy from the underground. Everyone else is playing more the nice side. It's like, let me try and get in this guy's level here. We're not just a bunch of do-goods. We can be pretty tough ourselves. No need to think we're a bunch of slouches.
Biff, right? That's your name?
Yeah. Briff.
Oh, Briff. Well, you can walk with me. And he turns and nods to his two dwarf companions. Then he stops after he takes a few steps, looks over his shoulder. Well, you coming? And then he starts to walk.
One of the dwarf companions of yours is staring at Briff. And he lets out a scream of rage as he sprints towards you, and he's going to try and tackle you, Briff. Go ahead and give me a contested grapple check. Ooh.
So that's strength, right?
Yeah, so he's trying to grapple you, so you can use strength or dexterity.
Okay. That's going to be another 12 then.
Okay, so he got a 22. This bulky dwarf just slams into your chest, carrying you like 5 feet backwards as he jumps, and slams you to the ground. And as he does so, his hood falls off his head, and you see this big, thick black beard ending in 4 knots, then coming into one huge one. And at his waist, you hear a click as he pulls out a battle axe. It sets it against your throat. And he says, Briff Shig, you've got some nerve. You can roll me. Actually, you probably know who this is, Briff. This is a particular dwarf you know named Tagnus.
Tag. Long time no see. Just, he knows what this is about. And, this is a big dwarf. He's pinned. No need to fight back. Just, he's reaching for his belt where he's got his own knife. Just kind of slowly trying to pull that out so he can get the upper hand, or at least start to fight if it comes to it. But He's on the ground. I heard what happened to you.
Could Sebastian? Sorry.
No. It's like, wish it had gone down differently.
Gone down differently. 3 years, Shig. 3 years did I rot in that prison in Falhast. And all because what? You couldn't hold your tongue? Because you fed the blood cloaks the truth about what happened? Huh? Down in the Dusk District about the deals? And he kind of stomps down on your hand, which is carefully moving down towards the dagger. He says, best I'll try that one, Shig. I hope you've been praying to those gods you used to earnestly pray to. Because I've been coming. You knew I was coming.
When do you know me to be a pious man? You know I trust my own blade more than I do anything else.
Oh, I'm not talking about those gods. I'm talking about the money you worshipped. I hope you had enough of it for turning me in.
Could Sebastian try to get up behind him with a crossbow and put it to this dwarf's back of his the back of his head?
You could try. But Dovod, what would you do as you saw Sebastian walking up with a crossbow?
I'd like to be so stealthy if I could.
Yeah,
Like
he wouldn't move from the spot. Once Tagnus runs past him and tackles Briff, he turns, and if he sees Sebastian, he just drops the maul a little bit heavier this time, so it makes a more of a cacophonous. He goes, puts his hands, kind of rests both his hands on it. He's like, "Well, seems one of my lads already knows one of yours. Looks like they're close friends. What you meaning to do with that crossbow?"
Yeah, so I imagine you actually catch me in the middle of the act then. Like I'm trying to pull it out and go and help Briff, but like you see me and I'm just like a deer in the headlights caught with this crossbow in my hand, and it's actually like pointed at my face. I don't even really have it like ready at all. And then I would just look to you and I thought you guys were here to help us. Are you here to get us through Ravenport? Or are you here to fight? We don't have time for this.
Briff kind of yells at him, "No, it's fine." Look Tag in the eyes, putting a head against the ground. No fight. Takes his one hand left and reaches a necklace. Reaches into his pocket, not his necklace, and pulls something out. This is not a pocket where he would have any sort of knife or anything. It's too small. Small pouch even. Pulls something out in his shape. Shows it to Tag. This large, colorful scale. Remember this? Still have it. I never sold you out for any gold. I was an idiot. You think you want to kill me now? Do it. But no. I've still got this. It's kind of referring to the friendship the two of them used to have. This dragon scale probably being some sort of a item they used to show that they were there for work, and that was how he knew that everything was all right to talk. One, if you're gonna kill me, do. I just ask you make it a fair fight, and let me draw my blade.
And he kind of looked down at you. And as you pull out the scale, you kind of look at it, recognition for a second. Then you look back at you. And you see him like thinking for a second. And in the blink of an eye, he lifts the battle axe and slams it down on the side of your head. Right next to you. probably clipping off a couple shavings of hair. And he leans down and says, I have a job to do now, and I'll get you out of the city. But once that's over, well, we'll see what happens then. Eh? And he kind of stands to his feet, pulling the battle axe out and looking down at you. And he gives you kind of like, not like a hard kick, but a sharp kick in the side before turning to walk away. And he'd look at you, Sebastian, who's kind of standing there deer in the headlights now. It's dangerous traveling with traitors. You should make sure you know who you're working with from now on. And he continues walking away over to Dovod's side. And as he passes you, Dovad, he would just kind of shake his head. Sorry, boss. And keep walking past you towards the causeway. He doesn't want any part of this anymore.
Sebastian's holding the crossbow, like realizing that it's pointing at him, and kind of turns it around. And then as he says that, like, traitors, he just looks completely and utterly confused. Like, I'm the traitor. You almost just killed Briff. What the hell? And then he's like, whatever, and just kind of shrugs it off.
And I imagine as all this transpires, Darius sort of gets up to Sebastian's side and sort of sets a hand on his shoulder and sort of just inclines his head as he speaks to him in a low tone. This is standard practice for old war buddies. Leave it alone.
These dwarves are nothing like Fulgrim. Gotta say, I wish Fulgrim was awake right now.
Again, dwarves are dwarves. They come in all shapes and sizes. Like the rock they form.
Devad would walk up to the side of Briff. He'd reach down with his right hand, helping the man up. And if he accepts the hand, and as he's pulling him up, he'd say, I don't know all that business, but probably be better for you to stay clear of Tag. And then he'd let your hand go and start walking away again.
Yeah, Briff would take his hand, helping him up with a good strong grip. You know, coming up, not even bothering to dust himself off. It's old business. Wish it wasn't. But lots changed since then.
And Devad would just say over his shoulder, not even turning to you, he'd say, none of my affair. It's between you and Tag. And he would sling his maul back up over his shoulder and start walking.
Yeah, as we walk, Briff would pass by his two companions, just kind of whisper to him, watch him. He was a friend. Don't know now. And then head towards the front where Dovad is, taking him up on his offer from before to be near the front.
I imagine Darius and the other dwarf traveling would sort of be taking up either side of Fulgrim, sort of carrying towards the back. And while he's doing so, he's keeping mostly silent. And while the other two would sort of walking near the front, he'd sort of almost intentionally linger, sort of feeling almost tense, but not quite. More like almost like he's fearful, and the words linger in his head.
As you all make your way down towards this great metal door, Rhea would kind of walk alongside you until you guys are standing directly in front of it. And she would walk to the front of the group and look down at you, Dovad, and say, you know the rules of the DredgeWay, right? If it's too deep, Don't try and ferry across it. If you hear the dredge coming, go the opposite way. And stay away from the long claws. If it's possible. And she's going to put a hand on your shoulder. Luck be with you, friend. And she kind of nod to the guys at either side of the stone of this big metal door, and they'd start turning the wheel again. Water would kind of pour out, kind of seeping for now, covering the top of your boots and maybe going up almost to your knee. The water isn't incredibly dirty here. Here it seems pretty fresh. But you know, Devad, as you get deeper into the DredgeWay, when it starts to get stagnant and you find pools of it, that's when it gets dangerous. That's when you find predators. That's when you'd prefer to be out in the fresher water. And as the door opens completely, it reveals a dark tunnel. Ithar lights a torch, as well as I think his name is Azanin or Azernin, the Ashforge, Thesnin, as well as Thesnin. And anyone else who wants to light a torch as well who has a free hand. Okay. So as you guys kind of step forward and start moving into the DredgeWay, Rhea would yeah, how you specify free hand. Rhea would look at you as you walk past Darius and kind of give you a wink and say, I still can't believe you don't remember me. Either way, it's not every day a woman saves your life, though, is it?
He would briefly consider this as he says that, and perhaps realization dawns on him, and his sort of aged eyes, one of them sort of with a scar through the eyebrow, sort of widens as he sort of feels around in his arm, or taps against his leg rather, and just feels sort of a heavy think. You the one. He never really knew who patched him up after that event, and he always got the feeling it was a dwarf, but he never had any confirmation. It was just kind of one morning he was broken, probably dead, or almost dead, and the next morning he was healing remarkably.
Yeah, she would just kind of smile and stick her hand into the flagstone to her left. And as her hand like sinks into the stone, almost like it's a puddle of water, it comes back out bearing like a perfectly formed bone. And she kind of twirls it in her fingers and tosses it on the ground before you. Dwarves aren't the only ones who can work stone, my friend. Anyone who practices the way can. And she pulls herself up onto the ledge above you. You're going to want to get out before dark falls. That's when all the predators who are out in the river return back to the DredgeWay. Good luck.
He looked briefly at the bones, sort of just kind of look it over. It looks completely functional beyond the fact that it's sort of carved or molded from stone, rather. And he looks back at her and he just simply nods and then turns back to the way they're going. He intends to remember her face. Out of all the faces that he's forgotten, be they willing or not, he's not going to forget her anytime soon.
And as you step into the gaping maw of shadow, the light flickering and lighting your way just barely, rising up on either side of you, the pathway of this kind of causeway, kind of sunken area between the two walkways. The door slowly shuts behind you again, and you hear the as it's sealed shut.
Darius would look back as the door sort of closes, and he lived with dwarves for a time. in Stone Rift. He got the local terrain more or less, but even there, it wasn't going to be this tight. He never did well in tight spaces, and he tries his best to hide it. Sort of using the shadows to a benefit to obviously hide that he is tense. He doesn't like being this deep underground.
Yeah, and I imagine Sebastian is just kind of getting angsty with this awkward silence. Like, we've had a very tense meeting with these dwarves who are supposed to now navigate us through some pretty dangerous territories, and no one's like really talking. So it's really awkward to him, and he doesn't really know what to do. Like, Darius is busy carrying Fulgrim, and Briff is having like an awkward pissing contest with Dovad to see who the machoest macho man is. So after like looking around for like someone to talk to, for some reason he decides that he's going to go to the front, and he puts himself on the opposite side of Dovad to where Briff is standing, and just kind of so the giant boars that you guys ride, do you like name them? Like, do you have your own personal one that you name?
As you ask the question, Dovad doesn't even look at you. He just kind of says, like, you think it's to you. Says, do you hear that?
Hear what?
Exactly. Shut your damn mouth.
Okay. I'll take that as a no.
Then he stops. You hear him, he goes, he remembers his friend Ithar. Shakes his head, and he turns to you, Sebastian, and he says, of course we name him. Truffle. He's probably the best boy I've ever had.
That's a real nice name. Sebastian is just like
Sebastian and Lionel, you guys are killing it. Take points of inspiration, both of you.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. I tried to keep a straight face on that. But honestly, there's dangerous shit in these in this way. So try to keep as quiet as you can. Don't want to get any of you killed, and I don't want you to get me or my lads killed either.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Don't call me sir. God damn it.
He considers saying ma'am, but then realizes that you mean just to shut up. So he does so.
He smiles at you. It's not a warm smile, but he smiles at you, and then he kind of starts walking again.
Oh man, dude, I'm so happy I chose you to play Dovad, man. You're playing such a good Dovad, exactly like I imagined him. Oh, okay. Yeah, you guys continue on in silence for a while. The water right now, like I said, is kind of only up to like maybe a couple inches beneath your knees. So it's not terrible. I mean, you've got to keep your eyes out. And Dovad, you explain kind of what to keep your eyes out for. There are things called stun caps, which are kind of like, they're a black and white mushroom that if you touch them, it could paralyze your entire body in a matter of seconds. You explain to them long claws. They're kind of like, they're large amphibious creatures with large, long hooked fingers. They're able to crawl along ceilings, along the depths of the river. They have gills. They're terrifying creatures. Live in broods, kind of smell terrible too. And you're kind of explaining, you explain a bit of what to watch out for, what to be careful of. And as you kind of walk along, you reach your first obstacle. This area that you've been traveling through, this is the upper end of the DredgeWay. That's why the water is so shallow here. And you know that there are areas you're going to have to swim through or find the long way around, and you find your first one. As you're kind of walking, taking the lead, Dovad, you suddenly, your leg sinks in up to your waist, suddenly out of nowhere. And you know you found what they call dredge pits. they're kind of just sudden drop-offs into oblivion, almost. You don't know. No one knows how far they go down. No one knows what's down there. But occasionally you run into one, and you have to swim through it. It looks like it almost ends in a wall, but you know that this pit kind of goes underneath this wall. You never know how far you're going to have to swim, though. So you either go through here or you find another way around.
So Devad would turn to the others and, he would step back. He'd pull himself out, and he would kind of share that information with them in his warm and fuzzy kind of manner. And how are y'all dressed? Anyone wearing really heavy armor?
Yeah, you would have noticed that Darius specifically is wearing a big plate armor. There's no way he's swimming in that. He's gonna sink like a rock.
Yeah, so he's going to point. He says, "That's where we're going. You're gonna strip that stuff off, or you're gonna, sink like a rock."
Sebastian already has his bag of holding open.
Awesome.
And you would see that the arm that's sort of on his left just kind of hangs limply as he starts sort of prying off chunks and just undoing leather straps inside of the plate and just kind of depositing pieces into the bag of holding. And he would just sort of mutter as he sort of tosses piece after piece. A gauntlet here, a solar plate there. Of course, no help needed.
Sebastian would say something along the lines of, "It seems like you are storing this more in the bag than you're actually wearing it. I don't know if it's doing you a whole lot of good."
It used to do me good. I also had a shield. And yeah, I just kind of remember back in the Quiet Keeps, when you were sort of almost by a pit, he threw his shield away just to pick you up.
Yeah, Sebastian realizes the reference and is just realizes he foot and mouthed himself again. Just I can help you with the rest if you need it.
And yeah, he just kind of turns himself around with these sort of plates that he just kind of can't undo on his own anyway. He just can't reach them. And rather, they're just so precisely bound that he kind of just can't from his angle.
Yeah, Ithar would step up to help too, kind of helping remove the pieces of armor one by one until you were just in your normal clothing. And she would kind of just nod at you and slip the breastplate into the bag. And she would look at you, Sebastian. Is that thing going to act up again? Last time it almost got us killed.
I've been tinkering with it. Hopefully I got all the nicks out.
I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, Sebastian. Your tinkering usually causes more problems than it helps. Though, admittedly, you're getting better at it. So we'll see.
Briff would then kind of come up, finishing, tying down one of his swords with a loose piece of string on the hilt so they don't accidentally fall out or anything. Yeah, but you'd have to train with them. You are getting better, though. Just make sure it stays closed. He kind of says as he finishes, tying this last one.
Geez, guys, I feel like you're jinxing it right now. I just kind of tighten the bag and put it on my back and give it a couple shakes to see if it reacts.
You don't hear anything, so it seems to be working. So Ithar would kind of look at you, Devad. So how do you want to do this with the crippled one here? We're gonna have to move him across, pull him with a rope real fast so he doesn't get water in his mouth.
Darius or Fulgrim?
She kind of looks at the two of them. It might not hurt to do both.
And Darius would visibly be uncomfortable with that prospect. He doesn't make any verbal complaints, but yeah, he does not going to be enjoying any process where he has to let other people drag him.
Well, if they're all done getting their preparations ready, Devad would
Yeah,
get back into the water.
He'll be done. He'll be done.
So Devad's going first?
Yeah. I mean, what sort of guide would I be if I wouldn't go first?
Okay. So if you're going to go first, she would send Sebastian with you, kind of like a buddy pair, to see if anything happens to either of them. So I'm gonna need athletics checks from both of you.
Looks like it's me and you, Devad. Imagine that, eh? Athletics.
Oh, I'll allow acrobatics too, because I mean you could power swim or you could like deck swim. So
yeah, I got a 22.
Yeah, freaking Devad just dives in, and I mean like he's like carrying his maul on his back still, so it's heavy, but he's just like, just like no problem, and like Sebastian's like trying to keep up with him. So the first part of the journey, the first half, passes just fine. But now I'm going to need a con check, a con save, to see if you can hold your breath, keep holding your breath. $147. Dang. 14 and 14. Okay, you guys both managed to hold your breath. And now I'm going to need one more check to make it the other half of the swim.
Another con or another athletics?
Athletics or acrobatics.
All right. He just wants me to fail this. Well, you got your wish, buddy.
You not one? Oh, a 4.
Ooh.
So you make it out the other side,
Wrong answer.
Devad, you come up. You're not even winded. Like, you're fine. But then you realize Sebastian hasn't come up yet. Sebastian, con save. At disadvantage this time.
Hey, let's do it. So not one.
Oh boy.
So, just quickly, when Devad comes up out of the water, and there's those few seconds tick by, and Sebastian should crest the water too, and he doesn't. He's going to immediately dip back under, and take a deep breath and dip back under and try to find where this guy is. Maybe there's got to be a curse involved before he does it.
Okay. Yeah, you dive back under, and I mean, like, it's pitch black under this thing. Like, the water is... You can't see anything. Sebastian, you are running out of air, and you go into panic mode because you realize that the breath that you took is not sufficient, and you need to breathe again. I want you to roll me a luck die, Sebastian. Okay. The bag on your back starts to move and shake like crazy. Like, it starts like slamming you against the wall above you, basically. Devad, you hear this. You see like a dark shape moving up and down, and you hear the clinking of metal. And you see floundering arms and legs.
Devad would make his way over there. So it looks, I mean, I imagine I have like very hazy vision at all. It's just like very crude shapes. So does it look like this bag is causing this man's distress? Like it's like because it's slamming him in?
No, it just looks like the bag is just shaking like crazy. Like it's not. What's causing his distress is the fact that he hasn't been able to breathe. Like
Right.
he's panicking.
So, so Devad, sorry, Chris. Devad's gonna wait for him to like drown and stop, like lose consciousness. And then when he goes unconscious, he's gonna drag his unconscious body up and then just kind of like, because he's done this before. If you try to help someone, because he lost one of his good friends this way, trying to help someone that was struggling when they're drowning and ended up drowning himself. So he learned, you got to let, if they won't calm down, and there's no way to tell this man to calm down, you got to wait for him to calm down naturally and then pull him to safety. Then he's got a 50-50 chance. So that's what Devad's going to do.
Okay. Then Sebastian, I'm going to need one more con save from you at disadvantage again.
All right. I'm going to clutch this one. Sebastian's getting out of this on his own, okay? Let's do
You
it.
have inspiration, dude.
Oh, I rolled a 2 and a 3.
Yeah, you're gone. You just like suddenly you just open your mouth. I mean, like it's a panic. You're like, like you're gonna take in a breath of air, and all you get is cold, nasty water, just tepid water, and it pours into your mouth and down your throat. And you're trying to breathe. And you're trying to breathe, and then slowly everything starts to go fuzzy and then black. Now, Devad, I'm gonna need you to make an athletics check. Or an acrobatics check with -2.
-2. That'll give me 16.
Yeah, you pull him free. He slides up out of the water, kind of onto the dry land, and he's not breathing.
So Devad is not. He knows that part. The part that he doesn't know and he's a little fuzzy on is the after. Usually someone else would do that. So he's going to do the best he can. So this is what it is. And I apologize, Sebastian. So he gets you up onto this bank and he just like, just kind of drops you hard to try to force any water out. Now, anyone else that has ever done this probably doesn't do it this way, but this is Devad's way. Sorry.
Sebastian, roll me another con save, just the normal con save. $13. You start retching out water. Like it's like, and it just shoots out like a projectile vomit for a second. It kind of just goes up in the air and then lands all around you. Some of it on your face, some of it in the water around you. But you're breathing again. You take in deep breaths of kind of musty, dirty air. And you're kind of lying half submerged in the water, but he like threw your back against the wall. Like there's a little corner kind of where you get up on a walkway, threw you against that. So you just kind of bent around it.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh my God, that tastes like shit.
You did good. And Devad's kind of like climbing up onto the bank as he says that.
I did? Oh. That's how you're supposed to do it?
No, you
terrible.
didn't. You almost got us both killed, you fool. Now get your ass up here.
Oh. Yes, sorry, right away. And I just like I slip around a couple times in the wet like muckiness, but eventually I pick myself up and my hair is like greasily slopped over top of my face and I kind of like push it out of the way.
All right. Next two are Briff and Thasnin. So either acrobatics or athletics check for the first check. So do that one first and then do a con save and just tell me what you got on the con save and the first check. Okay, how'd you do, Briff? Okay, with the 9 con, you start running out of air. So I'm going to need your next athletics or acrobatics check to be at disadvantage. to make it the rest of the way. Okay. You start floundering too. Luckily for you, Thasden nat 20'd on his crossing. So he kind of like grips the back of your neck. And what he does is he presses really, really hard on either side of your airway to knock you out. So you run out of air. And then he just pulls you along next to him, kind of like a leopard seal pulling its penguin prey. So he pulls you out the other side of the water. You're not fully passed out, but you're like you didn't drink in water because you got knocked out, but like you're out. So he like pulls you out and just like tosses you on the bank next to Sebastian. And he kind of like he looks at you, Devad, and kind of just shakes his head. He's like, "Could you believe these guys?" And kind of steps out on the water next to you.
The Devad goes, "Yep. Next time we're knocking them all out."
Okay, Darius. They tie a rope to you, and they're going to try and pull you through. So you're just going to need to make one athletics or dex check and one con save. But do so at disadvantage on both because you are crippled.
Okay. Am I by chance holding Fulgrim or is he going to be pulled separately?
He's going to come next after you.
Okay. Oh boy. So Constitution first, I guess.
No, because you're gonna swim with it. Like you're gonna use one arm to swim.
Sorry, I misheard you. Okay. Okay, I rolled a 17 on the first one, and a 3 on the second.
Okay, yeah, you're trying to swim with one arm. It's not working. Now give me a con save. A normal con save because you're not out of air yet.
Okay, that's better. That's a modified. What's my con mod? That's a con save. So 19.
Okay, you're fine. Yeah, you make the other side just fine. You kind of just grab on with your arm and you're just pulled all the way. Next, they pull through Fulgrim, and they kind of stuff his mouth with rags and put like rags in his nose too, so he won't suck in the water. And then they just pull him through really fast. Next, Ithar comes through with Emrin and Tag. So let's see. Ithar does just fine. Emrin actually does better than all of you. He got 2 nat 20s and an 18. And then freaking Tag is the last one. And he pulls his way through as well. So you guys are on the other side of this dredge pit. 2 of you are recovering. Let's just put it gently that way. And the rest of you are kind of, you guys all have to take a breather. Like, this is like you guys had to hold your breath to get through here for like at least like almost like 3 minutes of swimming. Like, it was pretty tough. Like, it wasn't easy. And as you guys make it the other side, you're all kind of just chilling there, drying off and waiting. I want you guys roll me perception checks.
Natural 1.
Your ears are stuffed with vomit.
I need new dice.
You're KO'd. It makes sense.
Okay. All right. Devad and Darius, you guys hear this? Somewhere down the tunnel in the darkness, you hear the sound of something clacking against the ground. A mariachi band, exactly. Baila baila la bamba. And then that's when it really starts. Maracas. No, Lionel, stop. Okay. But you hear this clacking sound.
Hey, whoa. In my defense, that's why I put it in the chat and I didn't say it out loud so that it would be our little private joke.
Hey, I said it out loud because it was funny. Anyways, but you hear this kind of this sound of something clacking against stone. It sounds hard, not quite like stone, more like bone maybe. But then you hear a low rumbling. And that is where we will take a 5-minute break. All right, everybody, go grab a drink.
Guys.
What?
Yeah,
What'd you say?
I said awesome, guys. Really good. Really
I'm
good.
gonna
I
fill
like
my water
this.
and go carve some new D20s. So
Yeah. Chris, you too, please, man. I got some in the mail to you. You should get them probably in a couple of weeks.
I'm getting them all out now. Okay, that's my plan.
Getting them all out. Yeah, whatever. All right, go grab a drink, guys. Go to the bathroom.
Just to
Do
show
whatever
how
you need
desperate
to.
I am, I'm pulling out a magic health counter for Magic the Gathering. I've never used this as a dice. I'm that desperate.
You know, when you're the first one back from a break, you got to start talking, even if it's to yourself. That's like a rule. You're breaking the cardinal rule, man.
Yeah, that's why I didn't turn my camera on.
Sneaky.
Well, I gotta say, I'm not one for following the rules.
You, my friend, passed. You crit that stealth roll. So you're just gonna let him sit there awkwardly by himself on the camera. I will not do that to you. Devad may be a jerk, but I am not.
Good.
So I'm gonna have to watch the earlier. I did not know that Tyler was running this campaign. I'm gonna have to check out you guys' earlier sessions. So
Yeah.
don't spoil anything.
Yeah, the days back when my dice rolled decently.
All you missed.
Maybe then I'll believe you when I see that.
You also missed like the session where I used to have an arm.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm so tempted to ask, but I'm like, no, I don't want to spoil it because I want to watch it.
Yeah, the 1/2 session.
Which half? The half that still has his arm?
Yeah.
Yep. 1.5 sessions of having 2 arms.
So I don't know if you guys are in chat or looking in chat. But Carol Dunster's in there, and I don't know. She's saying that Tyler needs to push us harder. I don't know.
Really?
I mean, maybe she's not paying attention, but like 2 of you cats almost drowned just in that very first obstacle. I'm thinking, I'm not sure what's coming after us, but I'm sure it's not nice. I'm sure it's not looking for hugs. So
I don't really count it a session of this game unless I die at least once a session.
Right. That's true, Chris. That is true. You like to at least go unconscious at least once so you can check it off your list.
Yep.
Get it out of the way now. That
friggin' reminds me. I'm running a homebrew campaign for a couple of schoolmates, and it's just a running joke at this point that one guy, the rogue, he is always going to go down every session. It has happened every time for 8 sessions in a row.
What level are y'all at?
Right now, they're at level 5.
Yeah, see, rogues are wicked squishy at the beginning, but let me tell you something. They almost never go down at the higher levels. After like level 8, 9, beyond, they almost never go down.
Yeah, he just now got Uncanny Dodge, so that's going to help him out during combat.
Yeah, and wait till he gets evasion. I mean, that's a pretty nice little skill to pull out of the old backpack when you need it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, your rustic dwarf
man.
is oddly charming in his uncharmingness. Just gonna say that right now.
Best. I couldn't even keep it together during Truffle. I tried to come up with like something funny to say, but I was kidding. It was too good.
I can't imagine that was easy to say. But damn, did you pull it off?
Yeah.
So, Michael, did you know that dwarf was going to tackle you like that?
No, I knew there was probably going to be something from my past. I just didn't know what. So.
Also, I did not expect Stonebender to show up so quickly.
Yeah, that wasn't the thing I was expecting from my background, because he had each of us come up with 2 out of 3 things for our backgrounds: person, place, or group. I was actually expecting the other one. So
you guys come into these sessions already with a little bit of anxiety because you're like, what is Tyler going to throw at me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he never tells us. He never gives us a warning of, okay, we're going to explore your backstory now. Just, nope, throw you into the deep end.
I knew because of last session how he was bringing up everyone else's background, that mine was probably going to come up. So, plus I've done some hinting at it before, but it'll be interesting to see if anyone actually says, hey, Briff, no one actually knows anything about you from before you joined the convocation.
Nope. And yeah, it'll be just gonna say, Lionel, it's gonna be interesting. Darius has got a few secrets of his own, one of which
I
was
think we all do.
explored last session. And that'll make the group dynamic a little more fun.
That's what's great about it. Yeah, everyone has skeletons in their closets. It's when they get pulled out, shown in front of everybody. They're like, "Oh, yeah, that was me."
Yeah, like I'm still not sure how I'm treating Tag. Right, I'm thinking like he's gonna be friendly, but he's going to be ready to stab him in the back.
So, extending one hand and the other's holding a knife.
Yeah.
But yeah, while we wait for Tyler, as is the usual, any games you guys been playing? Like video games and stuff?
I started Fallout 4 back up.
Oh, cool.
I actually haven't played my Xbox in forever, but my girlfriend just recently picked up Destiny 2, and she got me into it, so I've been jamming that with her, actually.
Oh.
Okay.
Right
now,
how is that compared to the first one?
I didn't really like the first one that much. This one seems alright.
Okay.
That's my vague review.
I know now,
yeah,
the original Galaga, like the arcade version, is $1 on Steam. So, got that for my dad because it was his favorite arcade game growing up.
Okay,
So,
nice. That's kind of
yeah,
new.
Yeah, I mean, it's technically for me because it's on my account. But it's just kind of one of those things. So now every time I go into his room or open up my Steam library, I see Galaga, which isn't even on my computer, running. Like, she's been at work all day. How is it running?
Nobody knows.
Like, I had to teach him how to get out of the menu today.
Okay. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Persona 5. It's the first proper JRPG I've played. I've gone through a couple of Final Fantasies here and there, but I've actually finished them. I've got like 130 hours on this thing, and I'm still not done.
Wow.
Also,
I hear they can be pretty big.
Also, I'm not allowed to disclose any plot details, or Atlas gonna flag this video to shit. They're on a freaking crusade against spoilers.
Yeah, some companies, especially the Japanese ones, are really, really heavy-handed about protecting their stuff. I mean, legally speaking, there's nothing saying they can't, but they really
I think they actually put out a statement that, like, they'd sue you if you spoil certain sections of the game.
So who am I killing?
Yep.
I believe you're killing Tag.
Oh, I see. Deadly stat blocks as we speak. Yes, I am actually. I found one called Godzilla that I think would fit this setting very well.
That's my nickname.
Godzilla? More like Wimpzilla.
Call me Godzilla.
What can Godzilla do? And what does it do that would fit this setting very well, in your opinion?
Huh.
Kill us.
Kill you?
Or are you going to throw it at us, or you're not allowed to spoil us?
Oh, no, I definitely don't spoil you guys. I mean, as you can see with the swimming incident we just had.
Yeah, but granted, that was our crap luck.
Carol said you're going easy on us.
It's like throwing a brick at a cripple. I mean, like, it's not okay. So that's basically what I just did to you guys right there.
Well, yeah, you threw a brick wall and a cripple.
Shaking his head.
The cripple's the only one that made it through, though.
I was the only one out of our party of 3 that actually made it through conscious.
I'm just laughing at
amazing
comments. The image in my mind. Throwing a brick at a cripple. I don't know where I was going with that. I just thought cripple, throwing a brick at one. Like
that was terrible, man. Don't ever say that again. That was terrible.
Okay.
Threw a brick at a cripple. You threw a brick wall at a cripple.
Yeah, okay. No more bricks and cripples, okay? I was talking specifically about Darius because he's the cripple of the party, but I mean, I could see how that could be taken out of context. No more cripple bricks. Oh, okay. Alrighty.
Awkward silence.
Okay.
Stuffing rice chips in my mouth. Sorry.
Let's hurry and do anyone who has anything they want to plug, like a channel, or anything they want to say about their character of the session, we'll go ahead and we'll start with Chris and we'll end with Michael.
What part of rice chips and stuffing in my mouth? I'm just kidding. What up, everybody? I'm playing Sebastian Williker, the most talented and bravest one of the group. They go to him for all the challenging skill rolls, as you just seen in my swimming sequence. My channel is Ginger Ninja Shish, running a couple things on that, some Storm King's Thunder. Check me out. Check out this campaign if you're not already checking it out for some reason, but that'd be impossible because you're listening to me right now, so I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to pass it on to somebody else.
Chris Logie or Darius.
Yeah, as he just said right now, I'm playing Darius Stonebone / Corin, the grungy fighter of the group that is tired of everything. And he is remarkably lucky with surviving things, even though he doesn't really try to survive them. And yeah, looking forward to how Tyler's going to kill us again.
All right, passing on to Lionel.
Hello, I'm Lionel Dehitri. I am half of the YouTube channel Two Guys T and D with Harry Pollitt. If you're free on Thursday nights, I'm currently running 2 campaigns. One is it's an iteration of an old first edition set of modules called the Sword of the Dales. I run that on Thursday nights, and when I'm not running that, I just recently started up a few weeks, maybe about a month ago, at Adventures in Middle Earth. It's a 5e hack campaign. It's really awesome. Give it a listen. And I'm sorry, I didn't even say. I'm playing Devad Craghelm, the illustrious leader of the Devad Vipers, and a very nice guy.
I like him. All right. But yeah, if you haven't checked it out, definitely go and check out his Adventures in Middle Earth game. He's got some great players in there. It's awesome. I've only seen the first episode so far, but it's really good. Definitely go check it out. And also for my boy Chris, he's very humble. He didn't advertise his channel very much, but Ginger Ninja Shish, go and check out his Storm King's Thunder game. It's fantastic as well. Sadly, I was going to play in it, but I didn't get to because real life got in the way. Passing on to Michael.
I'm Michael, playing Riff Shig, who apparently has a second name when he doesn't like being surrounded by people who very likely would want to kill him. Surprise, surprise. I've got nothing to plug, unlike I think everyone here.
Okay. So where we left off, man, I don't know if I could do this, man. Chris is just like stoic profile picture face just staring at me. Anyways,
Trying to eat some chips, man.
dude, I don't care, man. Eat your dang chips, but do it on camera. I want to see that. So you guys left off recovering after just getting out of the water, after being waterlogged. And you heard that strange sound towards the end of the corridor, and you immediately know what it is, Devad. That's the sound of a long claw. These strange kind of reptilian creatures that exist down here. They are no bueno. Let's just put it that way.
And both he and Darius heard this, correct? And Darius, hearing this, he would quickly sort of shoot a glance to Devad, his eyes sort of widening, and then looking to the torch that's lit. And he doesn't say anything, but I imagine there's this sort of look of understanding. And it's basically going, should we or should we not put out the lights, or can these things see in the dark?
I don't know if you say that last part out loud or not, but one of the things that Devad says as you guys kind of exchange this look is he says, Darius, right? Better start getting that armor back on. You might need it. And Devad would look around Ty for is there an alternate way that he could lead them that would hopefully avoid this long claw? Because let's be honest, Devad's not thinking that we're going to stand much of a chance if we run into a long claw with this group.
So I'm going to say, because I rolled an 8 on the luck die for you, that there is indeed, but it's really hard to notice. So what other pathways, and I'm going to leave this to you to build, what kind of like world building type thing, what other pathways can be presented to you down here? What like out of the way pathways are there?
Well, so here's the thing, and I don't know how much of this you've done, but this would be my idea, and you can naysay it. So as we start to walk up this path toward actually the sound, which would probably go against any logic that would make any sense. But what it is this was actually built on, it's a much older civilization. So, oftentimes civilizations would build on top of others. So that's what this is. So this was like at one point, this was probably open to the sky. And so he brings them up this way and he pulls aside, he probably would walk right by it, but he pulls aside this kind of old rotted planking and like this vegetation, this moss that's growing up along the side of the stone. And he pulls it aside and there's this grate there. It's rusted, it's pitted. There's even a couple of the grates are broken. And he looks to whoever's closest to him. He says, "Help me pull this up." And it pulls it up and it just reveals this one terrible smell. It smells like rot, decay, whatever, I don't know, like really bad. And it's dark, but there's these rusted iron rungs that lead down there.
Yeah, perfect, for sure. And as you kind of pull aside this grate, you hear the sound behind you that getting louder and louder. And as people start filing down the hole, kind of you lower Fulgrim down in kind of like a makeshift like sling almost. You lower him down the pit. Ithar goes next, one after the other, after the other, after the other, until the only two left up above are Devad and Sebastian. Sebastian, as this thing turns the corner, as this long claw turns the corner, what does it look like?
Oh, God. It's four-legged, but the legs kind of arch out at a 90 degree on each side, and they have really bony, jointed elbows. It has this long, almost like alligator snout, and on the back of it is something that protrudes like a tail, but kind of lunges over top of it, much like a scorpion. And it has a long tongue that is actually kind of clicking out of its mouth, and that's what it's using the clicking noise. Is its tongue is hitting the roof of its mouth really quickly, and it's clicking with that to kind of sonar feel us out.
Yeah, and you see alternating black and green scales along its back, and as its mouth opens fully, I almost imagine it's kind of like a mouth off of the creature from Stranger Things, or from like the Skags from Borderlands. Like it kind of opens in four directions as it starts scenting the air. And you see for the first time its eyes open. One set of eyes, and then two sets of eyes. One kind of a beady red and the other a deep black. One for seeing underwater, one for seeing above for like infrared vision. And it looks directly at you too as you stand there. at the top of the rungs. It is 20 feet away.
Sebastian looks over and is, so do I go or do you go? And I'm just nervous.
Devad doesn't even answer the question. He just takes his big meaty hand and he just shoves, not roughly, Sebastian through the grate. Because he's not far behind.
Yeah, you throw Sebastian into this grate, into the iron rungs. He barely is able to grab on to stop himself from falling. Devad, I'm going to need you to make me a check. An anti-grapple check as this thing's tongue extends towards you.
Oh, shit. Oh, no. 12.
11.
Oh, shit.
The tongue wraps around your hand. As you're kind of diving into this hole, pulling the grate with you, you feel it yank and pull, and your van brace comes off. You're barely able to pull the grate over the top of you as the screeching and the clicking begins to intensify. And then you're heading down the iron rungs into the depth of the
with
the
your
underbelly.
permission, I wouldn't even imagine that Devad goes down the rungs. It's like he hits the rungs. It's like thump, 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 thump. Like he falls. He doesn't grab rungs. I mean, he is just, his heart is just pounding. He can't even hear because of the blood rushing past his ears. I mean, he would never let anybody know how afraid he is. But just the fact that it rips this vambrace off his arm, he tries to grab a rung, but he doesn't. He just plummets.
Athletics check, Sebastian, as he lands on your shoulders.
Oh, I got this. 16.
You hold him. He lands on your shoulders, and with a thump, like he's just sitting there, breathing heavily, his hands shaking as they find the rungs. And you two just share a look, knowing that what you saw, what this thing was, this alien creature, only you two saw it.
I'm kind of like looking up as his legs are around my shoulders. You okay up there?
Devad pulls himself off. He's breathing. His chest is just rising. That was a long claw. Pray you never see another one again. And you would see that his hands are just shaking as he's grabbing onto these rusted rungs. Well, get your ass down. And then he doesn't say anything more.
I'll start climbing down.
Yeah, when you reach the bottom of the rungs, you find yourselves in what might have once been maybe some sort of a home. Kind of the area you were before. It looks as if this city was the DredgeWays that you were in before kind of have been built upon another city, which was built upon another city. So these iron rungs, as you go down, you find yourselves in kind of this rotting, decaying, what might have once been a home. Kind of on one wall, a broken stone bookshelf kind of collapses down into what was once a living room. A couple of old wooden chairs, rotted and decaying, now lie in heaps on the floor. And resting in the corner is an old, though well-preserved skeleton. Cracked and rotting with age.
So Devad, as he gets down, he just would look around the group, making sure everyone is accounted for. And he would start moving quickly through this room, not even giving it much of a second glance. He's starting to get some of his wits back. And he almost has this little bit of this flushness in his cheeks, not from the exertion, but probably from the embarrassment that Sebastian saw, how afraid he was. So he just kind of pushes through everybody, heading towards the exit of this room.
Yeah, I think I would quickly follow behind. Seeing that thing, I would just tell the rest of the group that we definitely want to follow him quick.
And Darius, he would have probably been one of the first ones down, considering how slow he'd need to move. So getting him down quicker, and he would already sort of be in place, ready to carry Fulgrim just as soon as the last people would be coming down. So there's no wait there. Just as soon as you two start walking, he's just there.
Yeah, and I think Devad, the thing that's hunting you that's haunting you the most is the intelligence you saw in its eyes. Like, it looked at you not as something to simply be killed and eaten, but as something to be hunted. And it's still in your mind staring at you. The red eyes locked with yours and the black eyes staring into you. And as you kind of push aside this curtain that might have once served as some sort of a door, as a separation from the outside world in this city, you find yourselves on kind of a broken and rotting street. It seems as if this city was built underground, as if it was carved straight out of the stone. And as you've never been this deep down in the DredgeWays, Devad. But one thing you immediately notice as you step out into streets is that the floor here is wet, which means that this place is a route for the dredge. When those sewer grates open up on the river and the swamp water pours into the DredgeWay, this is one of the places where the water comes through, meaning you don't want to be here for long if you could avoid it.
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons why Devad doesn't share that with the group, but it's one of the reasons why he moves so quickly through that room. And so his eyes just are quickly searching. He turns towards Tag, who's closest to him, and he says, "Be on the lookout. We gotta find a quick way out of here. I don't know how much time we have." And he would just, set a pretty quick pace, looking for any sign of a way to get back up.
Yeah, and as you pass through this ghost city of sorts, I mean, like you said, it smells wretched down here. And you see why. Kind of bloated corpses and rotting fish kind of are just lying all over the place here. Things that have been caught up in the downflow of water and ended up here. You see what might have once been a fisherman, kind of his back bent against a wall. He still actually has in his hand his fishing pole. The fishing wire is kind of wrapped around his hand, and ironically, on the end of the hook was a fish. So he's kind of lying there, bent against the corner, his body broken and bruised, his bloating from the rotting happening underneath his skin. And it's just kind of a sad sight seeing this normal man being pulled into this hell. So you continue past him. Like I said, the smell is terrible. It's as if you took a fresh steak, didn't cook it, and left it sitting in the sun for several days, and then brought it into your home in a sealed room and just let it sit there and ferment. It reeks. It smells absolutely terrible. And Emran, the professor, he gags and then throws up. Ithar kind of pats him on the back. Better out than in, I always say. and continues following along with all of you guys.
I think that saying's especially true in this current situation we're in. I'd rather be out than in, I think, actually. As well.
If we have time to joke, we have time to move faster. He says with a grunt as he sort of just hobbles with Fulgrim on his arm as fast as he can, and a big flaw with him in this area especially is due to his lack of a left arm, he cannot block out the smell. He has to endure this.
Yeah, seeing that you're kind of like having Fulgrim pretty much to yourself, Sebastian would come over and try to give you a hand now that we're like picking up the pace. I imagine it's pretty tiring. Even if you have like one of the dwarves helping you, I would come in like 3-man assist. I don't know how helpful I would be, but I wouldn't want you to get left behind. And he would just be like, "You're right. We got to go."
So let me get this straight. Marching order: Devad in the front, Fulgrim with Sebastian, Tag, and Darius carrying him in the middle. Briff up by Devad, Ithar with Emrin in the middle as well. So I guess that leaves Thasnin in the back, the other dwarf companion you brought with you. So he's kind of watching your rear. He's your rear guard. Okay. So as you guys continue along, I mean, you guys pass like broken houses falling apart, rotting, old tattered curtains and windows, what looks like the fisherman's broken boat, kind of shattered in pieces lying on the floor. And it's one thing you noticed. Well, one thing you notice now is that it is dreadfully quiet. Like more quiet than a large cavernous space like that has any right to be. And as you walk the street, kind of searching for, I imagine some kind of like maybe a cistern tower, kind of that would lead back up. Who has the highest passive perception?
Yeah, that would be Sebastian, I think.
Okay. Devad, one other thing you're not telling them is there are reasons why you don't go deeper. If you can avoid it, you do not go deeper. And Sebastian, as you're walking, helping him carry Fulgrim, out of the corner of your eye, you see something maybe as tall as your knee skitter past an intersection.
My eyes try to follow it. I call out, did anyone see that? What is it? What was that? Devad, did you see it? Briff?
Just keep your wits about you and keep moving.
Briff, we kind of say, I saw it. Keep moving. It's not heading our way. And, with the scent really, still very prevalently there in this place, he, as they move at a rapid pace, tucks underneath the front collar of his armor and pulls up a loose piece of fabric, and just kind of folds it over the lower part of his face to kind of block out as much of the scent as he can.
Yeah, and then again, you hear a skittering sound, and you look up and you see a kind of a black shape move along the side of a building and around a corner.
They're clearly following us. What do we do? Do we play calm? Do we run?
Devad doesn't say anything, but the message is clear as he pumps his little legs a little bit faster, and the maul that is usually tucked in a sling over his shoulder, on his back, he's kind of pulled and he's just kind of clutching in both of his hands.
And eventually you reach the center courtyard, a large open space. But it looks strange. Everything that you've passed has kind of been symmetrical. And this area is kind of like pitted and caved in. You see holes in the ground, these weird large spires kind of, and they're like white, made of like a chalky material, kind of rising up out of the square itself. You see that the ground is coated in kind of like in StarCraft 2, kind of they spread like that like purple ooze stuff. It's like that. That's kind of all across the ground here.
So
I'm at. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I would guess that Devad would try to figure out if he's seen this before or at least known about it.
This specifically, these strange chalky pillars and these weird kind of gaping holes in the ground and this kind of purpley black ooze that covers the floor. No, you've never seen anything like this before, because you know that one of the first rules about going in the DredgeWays, you do not go deeper if you can. And you've lived by that rule. You've avoided it as much as possible. You've heard of entire squads going down in this area and going missing. So this is something you've never seen nor heard about. And as you look, you see in the darkness on the very edge of your periphery a body. Up against the wall, it appears to be a dwarf. On your way in to meet with these people, as Ithar requested, your party used to be 4 people large.
Devad would kind of, well, actually, I want to give Chris a chance. I think he was going to say something before I'll react to that.
Okay. As we sort of near these chalky pillars and these sort of floor, and I don't imagine Darius would notice the dwarven body. It would stick more out to anyone else here in particular. He sort of looks around, trying to sort of get his bearings, maybe spy something in the distance that sort of reaches up to an upper level before sort of turning to Sebastian that's helping as much as he can carry Fulgrim, and then sort of indicates towards the point they've reached. This reeks of some kind of magical tampering here. You know, is this anything you recognize? Can you, I don't know, can you smell it?
Sebastian,
no idea how magic.
Sebastian can
He
make me
has
a
no idea
nature
how
or
magic
history check.
works, so he's.
So Devad, who's been keeping this kind of breakneck pace since entering this lower level, all of a sudden skids to a stop. One of his hands comes off of his maul, and he takes a couple of steps towards this dwarf. Arvin, is that you? And he turns and looks at his other 2 dwarf companions. Arvin, it's me, Devad. And he would take another couple more steps towards this dwarf.
You looked back at your other 2 companions, but only found one. Thazanin is missing.
He looks. There's that moment of panic. Devad doesn't like not being in control. He likes to know the odds, and right now he doesn't feel like he knows the odds. Thasden! Where's Phasden? He just yells at the group. And who is closest to him?
I would imagine that would probably be Sebastian, I think. Either Sebastian or Darius. Which one? Darius would obviously be hugging to Fulgrim's left side, so depending on whether the dwarf was on my left or my right, then that would be either Sebastian or Darius.
Was Briff not in front of us with?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, right,
Brian.
I was following you closer.
Briff was up with me.
I was up closer. Briff would kind of look around to this ooze, and is the dwarf body, is that in the ooze, or?
No, it's kind of like resting in a wall just beyond it.
Okay.
About how far away? Sorry.
From your group, like from you at the lead, like 30 feet.
I thought he was bringing up the rear. Someone's following us. I don't like this. And he kind of sees their guy, Devad, starting to lose it. He knows they need to keep moving. And he wants to remind him, but he doesn't want to get on the bad side of their guide or even antagonize him anymore. Get him to freak out. But he needs him to calm down, show him the way. He doesn't know him well enough to say how. He does, though, know Tag. They might be on bad, horrible terms now, and it might have been 3+ years at least since they spoke. But he turns to him. Tag, we need out of here. This is a bad situation to be in. We all know it.
And he would turn and look at you with an angry look in his eyes. So just because you're willing to sell out your friends so quick doesn't mean I'm willing to sell out mine. And he looks at you and says, Devad, what do we do? Is that Avon?
This whole time he's taken a couple more steps closer to that dwarf, and he turns when he hears Tag, and he nods his head yes. He's probably hurt, and he starts to move closer to him, and he would even say one more time, Everin, it's me.
And when you do that, I imagine Darius getting this flash back in war times, and he knows war combat. It's fought in many different ways, and the goal is always to win. War does not have honor in it. You cannot have honor in it. And rule 1 is show your prey something they want. And Darius just kind of stops Fulgrim as he sort of tries to extend a hand out, like in a sort of subconscious attempt to maybe sort of grab him and pull him away, but he's nowhere near close enough. He just shouts out, "Do not touch him!"
Devad, do you listen?
If someone is yelling at Devad, he doesn't hear it. He's still taking steps towards this dwarven figure. It looks, and as he draws closer, it is his friend. He's probably hurt, Devad thinks.
Yeah, as you get closer, it is Yvonne. It is. But as you look at him, you see on his arms, his neck, and in his shirt, in the front of his armor in his chest, little black holes where something punctured him. You see kind of creeping across his skin through his veins like a purplish fluid. And his body, now that you get closer to him, is black and kind of withered. And as you touch him, his body shifts, and with a sound of like tearing paper, his head rips off of his shoulders and rolls onto the ground. As his body appears to have rotted completely in such a short amount of time. As it lands on the purple membrane on the ground, it bounces once, twice, and rolls forward, falling into one of the holes. And it's silent. Dead silent. Whew. And as you're looking at where this head fell down the hole, you hear and you hear the sound of clicking and snapping. And suddenly all around you there's movement. Out of these chalky pillars, massive ants start crawling through, out over the top and down along the edge of the chalky surface, out of these holes in the ground. Massive, hairy, giant tarantulas pull themselves free of the hole with which they'd been hiding. Along the wall, you see now these dark pits, kind of these large, toothy worms kind of start hanging out. Imagine the scene from King Kong inside of the canyon when they fall. It's like that. And all around you, there's movement. It's an explosion of movement. I'm going to need initiative rolls. So we'll be starting with that Sebastian then. And then we will go to
Why do I have to be the first one to act on this?
and Darius. And
You
then
rolled terrible on
Devad.
everything except initiative, dude.
Yeah.
And then finally Briff, bringing up the rear. And I'll separate the bugs into two groups, so they go again at the end.
So, if you're ready, shit. I'm kind of like calling out Dovad's name, looking for like guidance, but I imagine he's kind of lost at this point, just standing in front of his comrade that he recently lost. And it comes to me yelling, to which he doesn't respond. I'm just, Dovad, what do we do? And then nothing. I would tell the group that we need to get to him quick. We need to snap him out of him. Snap him out of this. This is the only chance. He knows the way out. And I would hopefully like start to move with the group. And what I'm going to do is pull out one of my flasks, the fire, and I'm going to smash it on the ground. And hopefully, I know you said it's kind of wet, but maybe I can find something combustible. And what I'm hoping to do is, in this like complete darkness besides our torch, I want to illuminate the area and hopefully like back them off. I want to maybe pour some of it and catch a flame that creates maybe a wall in between us, at least somewhat. I know they're all around us, but
yeah, this membrane goes up immediately. This thing appears to be incredibly flammable. And as it does, what you do is you create kind of like a bonfire. And you can see that this place you're in with all these ruined buildings and kind of it's been built up on top of each other. This massive cavern. It's like a big rounded dome. And you can see at the very top of the ceiling even stuff crawling down out of the ceiling, Mines of Moria style. Like crawling along the top of the ceiling, coming down the sides.
And then with my movement, and I don't know if you're cool with this, but I actually, and I'm going to apologize back, Lionel, I'm going to give you some of it now, but I'd like to spend the rest of my turn running over to him, and I want to crack him in the side of the head with my quarterstaff.
Ooh. Go ahead.
I I don't want to
Devad-
necessarily like full on like murder swing, but like we need to get him out of this.
Yeah, Devad, would you make any attempt to move out of the way, or are you just too dazed?
Well, what they would have seen is just as that well-described incident happens, Ty, Devad would just, horror-struck, would just take a couple of staggered steps back, one of his hands, again, coming off of this maul, and it just kind of dropping, kind of limp to the ground. And that's the scene that Sebastian would run up on. He's just kind of looking at what was once his friend.
Yeah, so make me an attack then, Sebastian. And I'm just going to make his AC be 10. Because I don't think he's attempting to block you. I don't think he's trying to move out of the way. But, I mean, you could still miss.
And I hit him. And what I want to say to him is, am I going to have to carry you on my shoulders again? Or are you going to start leading us?
Yeah, you get cracked across the face for 1 point of damage, Devad. And, I mean, your jaw just kind of... And you feel one of your teeth kind of just snap as this length of wood just beats across the side of your face. And he shouts this at you. The bugs. They come pouring out of the chalky pillars. They come crawling on the walls, out the ceiling, through the holes in the ground, everywhere. Everywhere you look, you see bugs. Everywhere you look, you see skittering legs, snapping pincers. You see eight-legged freaks, monsters' eyes like shining diamonds in the darkness. You see snapping teeth along the walls and along the floor and along the ceiling. And they're all moving towards you, a horde of chitin, a horde of carapace, a horde of hairy eight-legged monsters. But they will not reach you this turn. Darius.
As I see just these things surrounding us, as I see Sebastian run up and just clock Devon on the side of the head, the group, and the way Darius sees this, if they don't take immediate action now, they are going to get swarmed and they are going to get killed. So he just turns to the rest of the group and just sort of like reaches his arm around, just sort of grabs Fulgrim and sort of half leans him on his shoulder and back, and just shouts out, "If you don't want to die!" As he just looks around, and looks for a place or a path in this. Just as they're slowly getting surrounded, just some place where they can run where there's a less amount of bugs and preferably a lot of cover.
Yeah, Devon's just like, come with me if you want to live. Yeah, you start looking around for cover, looking for some way, some place to move. The most open place to you is back, but you can't go back. If you go back, you're going back to the Long Claw. If you go back, you're going back to the dredge, the flooding, the rush of water. There is no going back. Devad, it is your turn. Where will you lead them?
Right. So there's this stinging crack of the wood against his chin. He spits a tooth out. He turns to Sebastian, and his shoulders just hunch. And he grits his teeth, and you can just see the blood along his lips dribbling down onto his beard. And it's at that moment you see this bear talon necklace just kind of shift out underneath his beard, and he begins to rage. He grips his maul in both hands, and he looks at Sebastian. He says, "Thanks." And he says, "Let's go." And he just runs forward, and he's just going to smash the first one. He's just leading them through past this sea of death.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do if you're just charging through them to try and get to the nearest place you can, the nearest high location. Each turn, each round, your party is going to have to do a minimum of 50 damage together to be able to get through without being grappled. Devad, it is your turn. Go ahead and start us off. As you essentially try and cleave your way through the sea of
Well, it's
insects.
a good start. I rolled an 18. So that's
That'll definitely hit.
23. Roll some damage. 10. 15 points of bludgeoning damage. And she's just swinging this maul smash. There's just carapace are snapping. This ooze, this gore from inside these bugs and worms is just splattering all over Devad. He doesn't care. Anyone that's behind him, he's just leaving this trail, this visceral trail. So there it is, 15 guys. Come on, we got this.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep a running total on the side for each round. So next up then is the rest of the party.
You muted.
Well, yeah, technical difficulties.
Well, wouldn't be a live game if there weren't any.
Nope.
Or anymore, I should.
So-
All right, so when he's back, you got a nat 20, you got a nat 20, you almost got a nat 20, but you rolled max damage. All right, he's back.
Don't tell him.
Well, I can't attack if I don't have an arm to attack with.
Still can't hear you, Ty. Check your wiring on your mic.
Yeah, just a lot of back feed.
Unplug it, then plug it again. Well,
I would suggest what you would probably do is toss, is it Fulgrim? Off to some,
yeah,
maybe to a non-combatant and do what you probably do best.
Yeah.
Just swing the sword.
Hey, while we're waiting, I
Yeah.
decided to.
Can you hear me
roll
now?
my-
Yeah.
yeah, we
Perfect.
can hear you.
Interesting.
Yes.
What a night.
For
All
now.
right. Rest of the party. Okay. Tag is going to help you carry. Emran's going to help you carry Fulgrim, so you guys aren't going to be hampered by movement. Okay. Okay, that was really, really weird. Hold on 1 second. Because I have the game going in the background, so like I suddenly hear like voices, like, "Can you hear me now?" Yeah, yeah. I'm like, okay. So Tag and Emran are going to help you carry Fulgrim, so you guys are not hampered by movement. Ithar like pulls her greatsword off her back and is going to start laying waste alongside Devad. That's one hit. And that's another 12 damage. So you guys are at 27. And then let me see who else was there, including the rest of the party. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Briff.
All right, so
So,
Griff, seeing these things, pour out of everywhere, his initial reaction is to just draw his blades just out once and take a readied stance to just start slicing into them. And as their guide finally snaps out of it and starts charging in, a smile crosses his face, and he runs in alongside them, just swinging away. And while you were gone, I did roll to hit, and I got, my lowest one was a 15. I'm assuming that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Time to roll for damage then. So I got 8 on my first one, and I got 4 the other.
Okay. So that's 39. Because this is like the first turn, you guys are going to try and keep moving. I'm not going to have any repercussions, but it is the bug's turn to attack you guys. So basically, I'm going to give them 3 attacks to make. So I'll have 1 attack on Devad, misses terribly. 1 attack on Sebastian, which nat 20s. Oh, but I rolled as low as I could, so you got lucky. So that's 7 points. I mean 8 points, because doubles. And then I'll have the last attack be on Briff, and that misses too.
Okay, good. And just for reference, since I don't have my overlay, with both my swords out, I have a AC of 12.
Okay, yeah. So all these bugs are just kind of like swarming towards you, almost crawling over each other. It's just like a wave of wiggling, creeping carapace insects. It's an exterminator's worst nightmare. Let's just put it that way. And as you guys like try to fight your way through this, you just you have very strong resistance, and you're held in the courtyard for now. So Sebastian, top of the order.
All right, so adrenaline has just purely kicked in at this point, and Sebastian's not really hearing anything but just the waves of chaos of screams and the bugs chattering. It kind of all just creates this cacophony of sounds, and he can't really progress any of it, and he feels a searing pain on his side. And as he looks, there's like this giant spider that's just teared into the side of him. He looks at his arm, and blood is kind of gushing out, but he doesn't feel the pain. All he sees is forward, and he sees that that's not the direction we're moving. Dovad's in the front, and he's smashing bug after bug with his what was it, a maul, I believe. But we're not progressing. For every bug that he smashes, another one fills in. So he knows that he needs to clear the path. He doesn't care about the spider that just bit into him. We need to move forward. He reaches into his alchemist pouch, and he pulls out a cool vial, and he throws it. He kind of moves up, and he throws it on the ground underneath the spider. And I guess I should roll an attack roll before I start describing any further.
That would be good.
Definitely a hit with over 17.
Yeah, by the way, guys, for the purposes of this scene, your guys' DC is a 14.
And what happens is, as I throw this vial on the ground starts to freeze, and a spike of ice raises up, and it pierces through one of the spiders, lifting it straight up into the air for 9 more damage. I yell out to Devad again that we need to push further, quicker.
And then it is the bug's turn. One of them is going to lunge at you, Darius, and definitely hit for 3. One of them is going to lunge at Ithar and miss. And one of them is going to lunge at Devad again, who's just raging and screaming and attracting all the attention of the forward bugs. And this time it'll hit Devad. And it'll hit you for 5. But I believe you have Totem of the Bear, so it only does half, right? And you're raging. Okay, so you get 2 then. 2 points. As out of this crowd of bugs, like a massive ant just comes charging out, and its pincers just clamp down on where your vambrace would have been, but where the long claw pulled it off, and just dig into your skin. But the muscles are just pumped so full of blood, so full of rage, that it just kind of catches and doesn't go very deep. A very superficial wound. Darius.
What Darius does is he sort of shrugs this spider that sort of scratched into it. One of his pincers didn't sort of pump into his blood, just kind of kicks it off. And when he sees this giant ant just sort of dig into Devon, and another ant just sort of coming up, sort of attempting to flank it, sort of coming around, filling that gap that he's sort of been just swinging widely, just digging through this just wave of insects. He puts all of Fulgrim's weight on his shoulder, and he's going to sort of, with his good hand, he's going to reach into his, and pull out a throwing dagger, and going to try for dear life to try and just pierce this thing's head before it can actually pull off an attack behind Devon.
Go ahead, make me an attack.
Yes! Nat 20!
Okay, go ahead, give me that damage. Roll your d4, add your strength. No, add your strength or dex, and then double it.
Mhm. That would be... Well, okay then. Consider that a 14 damage with a dagger.
Yeah.
So I totally imagine I imagine when I toss the dagger, it sort of hits that exact gap between sort of that exoskeleton, just sort of digs in, flies out the other end, and just sort of pins a spider on the opposite wall, just to a rotted building, just kind of digging it right in there, throwing with way more force than he actually thought he had in him.
Yeah, and this spider dies screaming on the wall that it was crawling down. Devad, your turn.
Perfect. All right, yeah. So so this ant gets tossed off, but it's just replaced by many others. A spider drops down on his shoulder. He shrugs it off, and he just slams the maul down on it. He stomps his foot on a worm, and for 11 damage. And he just takes a few very small steps forward.
Yeah, but small steps are what you need right now. And so as you kind of just smash this one spider and then spin and knock another one off into the crowd, Ithar fills in the space that you just opened up and is going to attack twice with her greatsword. One of which hits, dealing 11 points of damage, putting you guys at 45. And then, let me see, who else is going to continue in the rest of the party? There's Ithar. I think that's pretty much it, because everyone else is helping to carry. I guess Emran can try and do something with a dagger, so we'll see. Yeah, no, he nat once, he misses. He kind of tries to stabs out with a dagger, and it just kind of slips out of his hand, falling into the writhing mass of insects. Tag is helping to carry Fulgrim. So that means Briff. It's down to Briff to get that last 5 points of damage.
All right.
You got 2 attacks, use them.
And let me scroll back up to my modifiers. All right. So one of my blades just kind of goes through it. It might hit something, but it doesn't even make enough of a dent to really count, as the other one swings through a little bit lower, actually dealing 5 points of damage as he slices through some of them. The perfect amount needed.
You guys make some forward progress. You guys are chopping and hacking your way through this wave of insects. It's literally the King Kong scene, as you guys are just trying to fight your way free, trying to get out, trying to get free of this writhing mass of monstrosities. Devad, you hear a voice behind you, a voice you know, a scream, the scream of Thazanin. And if you were to look back over your shoulder, you'd see that he had tried to climb up on one of these buildings. And out of the ceiling, one of these massive hanging worms latches onto him with his teeth and pulls him slowly into the air and up into the ceiling. Sebastian. Oh, no, wait, the bugs. Sorry, the bugs' turn. So that was the one attack on Thazanin. They finished him off, so they have 2 attacks. One hit on, I'm going to have it be on Devad again, since he's kind of leading the charge. And 3 points, so 1. You take 1 point because you're raging. The next attack, I'll have it be on, let's have it be on Ithar. And it's going to hit Ithar for 8 points of damage. Yeah, one of these, Ithar kind of stepping up to the front, kind of swinging. You see Devad, as you kind of look back at her, kind of ready to take the lead again. Something shoots out of the darkness and buries into her arm. It's like a large dart. And you see kind of like hovering now, these hives that you didn't see in the ceiling before. These large wasps are kind of like hovering down towards you guys, spitting these darts at you guys. Okay, Sebastian.
So as we start to make some forward progress, Sebastian starts to feel a burning, but he realizes it's not coming from the attack that he just received in the arm. His chest is burning, and he can't figure out why. So he reaches in, and he sees the old medallion that he found over in the Quiet Keeps. And a once gold medallion with this obsidian diamond in the center of it is now, instead of black, glowing almost like a coal. You see hints of red, and it's just generating this heat, and it's actually starting to burn his chest. And for some reason, he just feels this urge to reach in and grab it. And as he does grab the medallion, it is actually burning hot, and you start to hear his hand sizzle as he grabs onto it, and he pulls it out and rips the medallion chain off and kind of holds it. And I imagine that he sees something, Ty, as he actually holds this for the first time and is now in danger. Now, do you have anything that he sees, or do you want me to kind of take it?
So as you pull it off your chest and kind of point it in front of you at this wave of creatures, you hear a voice in your mind, deep and guttural, very lizard-like. It is the voice of a dragon. This dragon-forged medallion of old Kazrin, given to House Locke. You hear this voice, and it says, "What will you have of me, bearer of the great Azorios?"
And he doesn't actually say anything out loud. He's thinking this in his head. He says that, "I don't want anyone else to die. I don't want to be the cause of my friend's death. Help me, please."
And it says, "Will you pay the price?"
Yes, anything.
Okay.
Without hesitation.
So I made them dex save. It casts Burning Hands at level 2. That's 3d6 damage. They fail, so you hit for 3d6. Actually, it might be 4d6 at level 2. Let me hear you check.
I think it's 4.
I believe it is 4. I just want to make sure so you get your full damage.
I believe, yeah, it starts at 3d6.
Okay. So we'll go with that for now. So go ahead and roll 4d6 damage.
15 damage.
15. Okay. And yes, it is 46. Okay. So you guys got 15 right there. Yeah, this wave of flame. To your eye, Sebastian, it looks like it explodes out of the medallion. But in actuality, as you open your mouth to say, "I accept the price," it explodes from your mouth. And it scorches in a screaming line, in this screaming cone. These animals, these insects, they burn and they die, and they are burnt to a crisp. And they're screaming. They fill your ears with screams of pain now, not screams of hunger or anger, screams of pain. And as you do this, the price is afflicted. You will take half of that damage.
Yikes!
So you take 7 points.
And
as you... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
But I was going to say, as you look down at your hand that holds this medallion in it, and this pain, this great pain pours over you, the medallion slips from your fingers and hangs from your neck again. You see now that the palm of your hand is red and scaly. Only a small amount for now, but it is red and scaly.
And the only thing Sebastian is thinking is that as long as his friends make it out, as long as we can save Fulgrim, all of this pain and so much more will be worth it.
Okay, awesome. The bugs. They are afraid of you, Sebastian. They're not attacking you this turn. You just went full dragon on these fools, so they're afraid of you. So 1 attack on Devad, nat 1. Devad will let you attack back, but you'll do half damage. So go ahead and just roll me an attack back.
How about if Devad rolls a nat 20?
Well, then just do normal damage.
All right, cool. So that's 14 bludgeoning.
Okay. Yeah, they are tripping over each other to get to you, and you unbiasedly are just smashing them left and right. One lunges at Briff, and nat 20s. Briff takes 16 points of damage as a dart pierces you in the center of your chest, going straight through your chainmail and into your body. And the last one is going to try and attack Darius and hit for 6 points of damage as a spider clamps down on your leg. Darius, your turn.
And as this happens, as this spider sort of just bites into me, and carnage just keeps raging, he has no idea how he's going to be useful here. He is stuck carrying. He doesn't have a weapon he can reach for. He has no magical abilities that Sebastian seems to have pulled out of nowhere, but he's thankful he can do something. And he looks down at the spider and just sort of kicks it and tries to sort of smash its head in, trying to, like, if he can't use his arms, at least he's going to at least resort to doing as much physical damage as he can. So he's just going to do melee attack.
So you threw the
Just sort of
dagger,
a
so you're just
kick.
going to punch out?
Yeah, more like, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
That would be a 17 on the die.
It hits. Go ahead and give me... So it would just be 1 plus your
that-
strength.
So 4 damage.
Okay. Yeah, one of these massive ants, you just kick it square in the face instead of flying back into the crowd. Devad.
So Devad sees Thasden drawn up into this hole. He knows that he's lost another friend to this accursed place. And what snaps him back is that this spray of flame that just engulfs many of these insects. The tattoos that run across his hands, up his arms, and even come across his face and neck begin to glow. He begins to seethe more as he goes into a reckless rage. So he's gonna. I don't want to miss. So I'm gonna go have advantage to attack, and that'll give any of my enemies advantage to attack me until my next turn. Yes. The damage is not great though. The damage is only 8.
So I'm assuming when you go reckless, you're literally wading into the horde of these things.
That
just
is
swinging.
exactly what Devad is doing. You know, they're like landing on him. Others can see them scratching and biting at his flesh, you know, tearing through his cloak. He doesn't wear a shirt. He just wears this like leather vest. And that is just getting shredded. His legs are just cuts. But he seems to be oblivious to it all.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Ithar is going to step up alongside you to help you. And she's going to hit once again and miss the other time. And that'll be 10 points of damage, putting you guys at 51. And so she's just kind of like, she's like pulling things off of you, throwing them into the crowd, kind of swinging up and down and kind of like stabbing through things, just trying to help clear a path. You guys are forcing your way through. You see in the distance another 30 feet, maybe another 30 feet. And you can reach this massive tower that kind of rises all the way up into the ceiling. All right. Bugs. Oh, no, Briff.
That's what I thought. But Briff was just, you know, there in the front with everyone, and one of these giant wasps just got him square in the chest. You know, sends him stumbling back for a second as he, you know, clutches it with one of his swords and just pushes back using his second wind to regain some of those hit points. Which, let me add that up. So that will be now almost full, and then he, goes back in, swinging with his sword to try and get some sort of damage done against these things. And you said it was 14?
Yeah, DC 14.
Okay, 14. Perfect. Actually, yeah, I'm good. And then I'm going to deal 4 points of damage.
Putting it at 55. Yeah, you're just kind of cleaving through these things, walking up alongside them, helping, pushing things out of the way, clearing a path. The path that you need, the path of freedom, the path of life. And as you do so, the bugs continue to crawl down and encroach upon you. And then all movement stops. Devad and everybody else, you feel a rumbling in the ground. A shaking, a tremor. You hear almost like white noise in the background. And then that becomes... As you look over your shoulder, you see one of these massive holes, one of these holes in the ceiling. One of the things that you had thought was just another hole for another worm is pouring water into the city. All the bugs turn and start running away. They crawl up chalky pillars and disappear into holes. The worms crawl back up into the ceiling. The spiders disappear down into their holes. And the water surges towards you like a tsunami. I'm going to need everybody to make me a dex check to start running.
That is... You said dex, right? I can't add strength to that?
Sure. I'll allow strength. Sure, why not?
Okay, that's
I'm changing my answer.
If it's a strength check, then that would be a 14.
Okay. And this the same number as a 14. You need to get a 14. Okay, cool.
Ty, you got muted again.
This is killing me, man. Almost literally.
Honestly, guys, I'm just gonna say this. I think he does it on purpose.
Actually, suspense.
I think it is. He like has his pedal under his desk, and and then all of a sudden,
it's always at the perfect times too.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of what he's saying.
It's his thing. Still can't hear you unless you're not talking, dog.
He still has his foot on the pedal.
This is the classic bait and switch.
Sebastian remarkably gets a Ultra Self potion, and it is big enough to the point where we can all drink it and we just kind of turn aquatic.
That's
yeah,
right.
you turn into a whale and you swallow us all. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, the third time.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Does anyone want to donate to get the Tyler a new set of headphones foundation? Okay,
Yeah,
well, you can probably get it.
Start a GoFundMe.
Probably get it back on Kickstarter.
Dude, I heard you guys talking about the pedal. Yeah, I actually have one. I tap it whenever I want to add suspense and have my headphones cut out.
He has it labeled suspense.
Like,
Yeah, it's called the suspense pedal. I call it. I call it
the pedal.
I'd call it the cloche
Too bad
pedal.
you don't have a. You really
Okay.
need to add like a suspense see-througher, I guess.
Yeah, well, something like that. But either way, you guys all succeed on your run as you all sprint into action.
GTFO!
So
As the water pours down into this area, into this ruin, I'm going to need another check. But this time I'm going to need a con save to see if you guys can keep up the speed you're running at.
I'm using inspiration on that. That's a bit better. That would be a 15 total.
Okay. Okay. You guys are sprinting. You guys are just tearing up the ground as you're running. You're stepping over dead corpses of these bugs. You're stepping over bodies that were trampled by the other bugs. And you reach this tower. The door is made of old rotting wood, but as you pull on it, it is sealed shut. You have 1 round to get it open, and this is a skill challenge, meaning all of you are going to choose a different skill to attempt to open this door with, and you guys need 3 successes to get it. So we will start with Sebastian. What does Sebastian attempt?
Sebastian is going to use his perception to either A, find another alternative like window or something, or B, something big that our good buddy Dovad could smash through it.
Okay, go ahead. Give me a perception check.
21, sucker.
So what you find is neither of these things, but you're able to determine the weaknesses in the wood. You're able to find the spots that if you were to try and remove the hinges, I mean, you find where the hinges are, you find where it's cracking and breaking, where you might be able to break it down. And you actually see out of the corner of your eye a large kind of what would have once been the rafter of a house, like a big timber.
I would say, Dovad, Darius, there, smash.
Okay, going to Darius.
Okay, him pointing these weaknesses out, he's gonna sort of drop Fulgrim ungracefully onto Tag's shoulder, and he's just gonna sort of pull out his belt and sort of draw his blade, which hasn't seen any action since coming down here, and he's gonna start basically. He's not going to use it as a cutting weapon. He's going to try and smash these things open with athletics, just pure brawn.
Do it.
18.
Okay, yeah, you just start slamming on this door, and you're able to break one of the hinges off. So at the very least, you can kind of pull it down now a bit, but it's not completely open. Devad.
So Devad is getting ready to strike this door with his maul. And then he hears Sebastian, and he sees where Sebastian points. And he sees Darius make a noble attempt. And he is going to... he just is still kind of... He's coming down off this rage. Like his chest isn't heaving quite as much. And he just runs at this door, tucking in, and kind of rolls and kind of slams into it, almost like springing up. I would like to use acrobatics, I guess.
Okay.
Yes, that is going to be a 9 as I careen off. And
It's like a bowling ball.
Back.
Like when a bowling ball hits the side of a pin instead of straight on, it's like
Right on. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And he just kind of staggers off to the side.
All right, Briff, it's all hinging on you, baby. What you got?
Oh, the pun. So, Briff pulls he's holding his swords, and he sees these weak points. He sees, maybe even now, since Darius has managed to start opening it, these perfect spots. but he also hears the water coming. And it is all or nothing. He doesn't make it. Not only are they not going to be able to get in while this water is coming, but it's probably going to slam right into them, crushing them on impact. So he pulls them out, and he swings his swords, towards this vital spot. And I would like to use my Convoker boon, Blade of Tamarat, to maybe get some sort of advantage here. Because what it normally does is gives me an extra d6 of damage. But I was wondering if I could instead turn that into advantage.
Wait, so what skill are you using?
I'm using athletics.
Athletics has already been used. So you have to use a different one that somebody else has used.
Okay.
But I will let you use the Blade of Tamarat and just add like a D6 Bardic Inspiration to whatever skill you do choose.
Okay. Let's see then. What would he use? That's been used already. I'm gonna say then he's going to use his
Could sleight of hand maybe work?
Yeah, I'm gonna say sleight of hand. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at all of them, trying to think what would be
Yeah.
the most sense. And
You could try and like pry a hinge off. That would work for sleight of hand.
Yeah. So I'll do that. And
Does anybody want to give him inspiration?
You can have my inspiration.
I already think I have inspiration.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna use one of my inspiration. So
of course, I probably should use it on my own roll, but
no, okay.
Yeah, I was
With my
wondering about that.
inspiration, I definitely manage to succeed.
So what does it look like as Blade of Tamarat helps you open this door, though?
So as he goes in to kind of use his blades to kind of hook this last hinge and pry it, he just doesn't quite get it. But his blade begins to glow with this radiant light. But it's not just light, it's warmth too. Almost as if you were out in the sun on a nice day. It just almost breathes life. You know what I mean? As it goes in and casts light on this dark corner, and his blade is almost extended some, but more precise. As he stabs in and gets it at just the right spot, completely prying off the top of this thing and popping the hinge right off, sending the door flying back as we all just cram in there.
Yeah, the hinge kind of just snaps as your blade forces these old rusted bolts to snap out. And the door kind of just falls to the side, almost crippled by what's happened to it. It kind of just... And the sound of rushing water behind you is getting louder and louder and louder and louder. And as you pour into the door, as you're slipping through one by one, you see a metal rungs. Again, it's another ladder leading towards the surface. People start climbing one after the other. Tag is kind of forcing people through the door, shoves Fulgrim up onto somebody's back. I guess Ithar maybe takes the sling and starts climbing with him on her back. And you see Tag, his hands grab onto the rung, and he starts to pull himself up, and water surges beneath him, almost like water hitting the side of a cliff. It shoots up in the air as it surges through this doorway, and it starts to fill the tower bit by bit by bit. I'm going to need con saves from everybody to climb as fast as they can without getting winded.
I just want to go on record that I did use my inspiration now.
Okay. Okay, you guys are climbing savagely, so fast. You guys know your lives are on the line. If you guys get stuck inside this tower as it fills up with water, you are guaranteed to die. And as you're climbing, you feel the water beneath you rising slowly. It's at the bottom of Tag's feet as he's crawling, climbing. I need one more con save from everybody. This time DC 15.
Okay. Oh, fuck. Nat 1.
Okay. Darius, in your position right above Tag, your foot slips off a rung as you kind of stop for a second to breathe, and it kicks Tag right in the face. His hand slips off the rung that he was reaching for, and he falls backwards into the water. You just have to stop and take a break, Briff, which isn't that big of a deal since Darius is right beneath you anyways. But Tag falls into the water.
As this happens, Darius would, again, he would sort of hang off of his good arm and almost try to reach for him as he sort of falls down there, trying to grab for his arm. And he just can't. He tries to make his left arm move, but it's not budging. He just, a nerve got cut or something. He just will not move. And he is just watch. And what he's going to do is, perhaps without even realizing it, he's going to try and, like, move further down the rung as far as he can manage, just before Tag sinks. And he's going to try and just, what others would see is just this almost red electricity start to arc off of his arm and his shoulder, just, and these runes start appearing all over his body, in his skin, in his bones, as he's going to try and cast Holy Shield, or Shield as it would be, his Convoker boon. Try to hold back the water to give Tag sort of time to get back onto the ladder.
Holy shit. Okay.
Push the water at least a little bit sort of back so he has the ability to get back his momentum, is what I'm thinking.
Interesting. Make me either an intelligence or a wisdom check.
I believe wisdom would be preferable here. Yes, it is. Natural 19. That's a modified 20.
What you manage to do is not give him some breathing space or give him some sort of a platform that he can use. What you actually manage to do is you seal the door long enough to stop the water from churning and for him to grab the rung again to get his bearings. So you see a hand burst out of the water and grab onto the rung as he pulls himself out with a heave and is like breathing heavily, and he kind of just looks at you and nods and starts to climb again.
And yeah, just he sees these dwarven runes and these just this sort of reddish gold electricity just arcing off his skin that just disappears. And he would recognize this as, depending on his knowledge, he could recognize this as symbols and runes of Tritherian, and just briefly, sees the outline of a large dwarven full-plated figure behind him as he just starts moving again.
And you guys are near enough to the top that you guys don't have to make another con save. You reach the trap door kind of at the very top of this tower, the very top of the ceiling. You're able to flip it open and crawl out into what might have once been some sort of a guard post and collapse to the floor heaving as you catch your breath. Tagnus being the last to pull himself over the lip, sodden and dripping wet. And with a fresh boot-shaped bruise on the side of his face.
Let's not do that again.
Sebastian drops to the. Go ahead. You got it.
He just kind of find the nearest solid thing and just kind of prop himself up and just kind of lay himself there.
Sebastian drops to the ground, panting, kind of like on all fours, and he starts to chuckle to himself and looks over to Dovad and says, "You're a real shitty guide."
Dovad's just laying on his back. He spits out some water, and he just starts to laugh. And it's one of those deep belly laughs, and it's heartfelt. It's not have any of the bitter edge that they've seen. You might be right.
And then I would ask him, so was that the easy half or the hard half of this journey?
He pushes himself up. He slowly gets back to his feet. He looks over to Tag to make sure that he's okay. And when he sees that he is, he just they maybe exchange this quick nod. And he'll lie. He'll lie to Sebastian. He'll say, "Yeah, that was the toughest part. It's easy sailing from here." And then he would look over to Darius and he'd say, "I saw what you did in the silo." And he would kind of level his eyes a bit, or slant his eyes. There we go. Slant his eyes at him and say, "It's quite a trick, but I'm thankful you saved Tag's life."
And Darius kind of look at you. His eyebrows kind of furrowed. He is drenched, just soaking wet from the water just kind of splashed against him. His boots are heavy, and he lets out a bit of a chuckle. "I will admit I did not know I could actually do that." But I lost 2 friends on this journey. I won't have you lose another.
So Devad looks back at the churning water, and he quickly thinks of the friends lost. Then he turns back to the ones that are still alive, and he says, "Well, we got to get moving. There's more threats about." And he would just turn, heft his maul over his shoulder, and start walking.
The door to this guard tower opens with relative ease. It's like a simple push of the hand. And as it creaks open, revealing the DredgeWays once more, it's dark. I'm guessing maybe somebody managed to keep one of their torches, so you're going to have to light some new ones. But as you step out into this, it's almost like a bend, a T-bend in the DredgeWays. A big kind of white chalky arrow pointing in a direction, the way out of this hellish labyrinth. You all start to walk again. You cross a bridge that's kind of rusty and falling apart. Over to the next walkway. The tepid, stinking, fetid water beneath you just churning lazily in the passageways in this cistern, this sewage pipeway. And as you all walk onward, nobody having a high enough passive perception, if you had looked down, you would have seen a pair of red eyes peering out of the water that lazily slip beneath the surface. You walk for, to you, what seems like an eternity. In reality, it's maybe an hour. But the labyrinth goes on. You follow the arrows. You continue to follow them. And it seems like it actually is the easy part of the journey. It seems like things are relatively peaceful on this side of the dredge. And then you reach the central conduit. The place where all the water meets before it goes out to the rest of the dredge. And it's pooling there in a dirty whirlpool. Scum and moss and all manner of other fauna and flora cover the walls and floor here, almost making it look beautiful, like some sort of twisted menagerie, some twisted greenhouse. If the horror you hadn't seen before, you might have found this quite beautiful. Flowers, massive in size, larger than a dwarf, hang from the ceiling. Kind of a light pollen of purple and blue dripping down like a waterfall. The whirlpool continues to turn and spin and shift. And that's when you hear it. As the sound of scraping bone on stone pulling from the water from the causeway out onto the ground behind you. The pathway around the central conduit is narrow, only large enough for two people to stand side by side, and the long claw fills up the entire path behind. And one pair of eyes open, and the next pair of eyes open, and Devad and Sebastian. Somehow you know that this is the one you saw earlier. And it has hunted you all the way to here.
Sebastian feels his hand, and he looks down to where his leather gloves are, and on the palm of his hand is a burnt hole where he held the medallion. And what he sees there, instead of blisters and boils, are these scales that you spoke of, and he still feels the searing pain. And he squeezes his fist shut to feel that pain even more. And as he looks at this creature, he thinks to himself, no one else today. No one else is dying. I'd look over to Devad and give him a confident head shake. Like, if we need to do this, let's do it.
And Devad would just look at you, that knowing look, having seen the same creature again, just nods. And he would turn to face this thing.
And as you turn, as you look at it, as you stare it in the eye, probably the most terrifying thing that you've seen about this thing happens. As its back legs kind of rotate inwards and it stands up. It towers over you. At least 8-9 feet tall. Reptilian scales and a frilled kind of gilled neck. Like those weird creatures from Jurassic Park, the ones that run and spit acid. It's got one of those gill kind of frill things along the side of its head as it stands up to its full height. And this kind of long snout kind of bends out to the side. Let's get out of here. It's mouth opening 4 ways instead of just up and down. And the sound that comes from this thing's mouth is somewhere between a lizard's growl and a cat's screech. Roll initiative. So we've got Doc Croc going first, followed by Briff, followed by Darius, followed by rest of party, followed by Dovad, followed by Sebastian. Okay, Doc Croc going first with that lit nat 20. It is going to forego its attacks to instead use its special action. The tongue from its mouth whips out. Sebastian, I'm going to need a dex or strength save.
$16.
Okay. That is not enough to succeed. It wraps around your leg and yanks it out from beneath you and starts reeling you in. The tongue, whatever is on this thing's tongue, it starts to burn through the fabric of your leg and starts to burn your skin. And you take 8 points of acid damage. Edges just burns and melts away your skin. Briff. Oh, sorry, Sebastian, you're going to say something?
I was just going to say Sebastian screams out in absolute pain, and where you see this acid splash, it actually burns right to bone because Sebastian looks real bad.
Oh boy.
Okay, Briff.
Briff, for a moment, looks ahead at along the pathway to the exit. He knows if he makes it there, he's safe. He's out of here. But then he hears Sebastian screaming in pain as this thing drags him closer. Sebastian, the butt of so many jokes. The two of them have fought alongside each other. They have nearly died alongside each other. This thing is scary as hell. um, and he does not want to stay here. But he can't bring himself to leave him. He wants to. He wants to will himself to run like as fast as he can away. But he can't. Instead, he draws his swords and runs towards this thing despite every the possible positive thought in his head telling him to do the opposite, to save himself and leave. Something in him compels him forward as he slashes down against this thing, trying to save Sebastian and break him free. So, I'm making 2 attacks. What's the DC?
So for the purposes of this scene, it is DC 17.
Alright. So one of them hits, and that one gets 6 points of damage.
Yeah, and the cut goes not as deep as you would have hoped. This kind of this scaly reptilian skin catching and deflecting the brunt of the blow, but still drawing kind of a greenish gray blood out of it, kind of dripping down onto the ground, sizzling the stone beneath it. You watch as the flora and fauna, this moss and these flowers and this grass kind of is shriveled up and burnt by it. The acid in this thing's blood. Darius.
Was muted there. Okay. Seeing Briv charge in, sort of slash at it, he is going to. He stands there for a good moment, and he sort of back to the scene at the bar in the back room, and he remembers the words of the person he knows as Rook. Harry, as long as your mission is complete, they don't matter. He has this in his head, and he looks at them, and he knows of him not meeting expectations. And he considers this. His hand is shaking on the hilt of his blade, and he wants to pull it out so bad. Just stands there for a good moment. Before deciding in that brief instant, if I die here, then I might as well take this thing with me. And he draws his blade out, and he practically just jumps past Devad, and he is going to make an attack roll against this thing, and I'm using one of my combat maneuvers, intimidating strike, or menacing attack, rather. Basically trying to get its attention on him as much as possible.
So does that mean it has to make a wisdom save, right?
It has to make a wisdom save against my save DC of 13.
Okay, so we got a 17, so I guess that means it's good.
So,
But go ahead and give me your damage.
okay, so natural 20.
Ooh, okay.
That would be, and because I got the my dueling ability or battle, my combat style, does that get double 2 because it gives me +2 damage when a weapon is in one hand?
Yeah, because it counts as a damage die,
Okay.
so you have to roll. So, yeah.
So that would be a 10, 20 damage.
Whew. Ouch. Yeah, I imagine that as you kind of come crashing down with your longsword, you actually cleave its arm clean off. And it kind of just like
Eh.
looks down at the arm as it falls to the ground, the blood splattering off of it, dripping to the floor. And it looks at you with that red set of eyes and that black set of eyes.
And he doesn't know if this thing understands him or if this thing has any concept of what he would say if it does. But he says, loud enough for Briff and possibly Devad to hear him, he goes, "Put Sebastian down or the only one goes next."
Okay. Rest of the party. Emran's going to run up to Sebastian, who's being pulled in slowly by this tongue. And he grabs the tongue with his hand. You hear that sound as it starts burning away the skin of his hand. And he pulls out a dagger and he starts sawing at the tongue. Wow, okay, he actually manages to hit. Okay. He does 5 points of damage to it as he starts sawing at the tongue, trying to get you free. Burning himself in the process and taking a couple points of damage. Ithar will run up, but...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, somebody just sounded surprised about something. Okay, Ithar will run up, and she can't get close to this thing because there's already 2 people next to it. Like I said, the pathway is only big enough for 2. So she is going to try and chop the tongue as well to free Sebastian. And will hit with 1 attack for 7 points of damage. The tongue is still not broken yet. Leaving Tag, who pulls out a crossbow and is going to take a shot at this thing and manage to hit. Okay, and that'll be 2 points of damage from Tag, or 4 points of damage from Tag. Okay. All right, and I added that in, Darius.
Oh, yeah.
Dovad, or Devad.
Right, so there's 2 creatures. 2 of the party is already blocking this creature on this platform. Is there a rail on the platform, or is it open?
Yes, but it's very rusty, and it does not look like it would support much weight.
Okay. Well, the first thing Devad does is, much like he did in the insect nest, he just becomes very feral, and he just howls to the air, and he just runs forward. But as he's running forward, in his left hand he's holding the maul, but he reaches down and he pulls from a loop a hand axe into his right hand, and he just comes and he just brings it chopping down on the tongue of this creature to break, hopefully cut Sebastian free. 19
Hits, definitely.
Okay, great. And that's going to be 10 damage slashing.
And that will cut the tongue off. What does it look like as the tongue separates?
So there's just this spray of this kind of this greenish blood or ichor in this tongue, and it actually spatters across Devad's chest, and he could smell his beard as it's singed by it. He could feel it burning into his flesh. And if you're okay with it, I'm going to give myself 1 point of damage as this thing just kind of spatters across me.
Yeah, dude, Carney method, man. If you wanted to give yourself a bit of damage for that, dude, go ahead.
Yeah. And then he would just kind of step over. So he's now imposed between this creature, the allies, and Sebastian is behind him.
All right. Cool. Sebastian, it's your turn.
And now I am free from the horrible creature's tongue, right?
Yeah, man.
All right. I think at this point I will reach into my pouch and pull out another one of my vials and lob it like a grenade, hopefully hitting him with another fire concoction.
Give me that ranged attack.
Definitely a hit. 18 without the modifier.
Oh, yeah, baby. That hits.
And then we're going to hit it with a whopping 9 damage.
It could be worse.
It definitely could be worse. It kind of screams in pain, and you see that this probably had the most effect on it. As its skin begins to bubble and char, and the arm that you managed to cut off cauterizes shut. You see there was like a little nub of an arm forming there before, but now it's kind of gone. That arm is going to regenerate. And it is Doc Croc's turn. The Long Claw is going to live up to its name this turn with 3 attacks. Briff, its claws dig into your back with a nat 20. And you take 34 points of damage.
I'm on the ground.
It just, you see these claws like sink like 3 inches into his back, and it just lifts him in the air and throws him. And he lands with a thud behind you, Sebastian, on the ground. It turns and looks at you, Darius. And is going to miss you barely with its attack. It got like a 3 plus like 7, so 10.
Barely misses me, and I'm going to use one of my other martial maneuvers, riposte.
Okay, go ahead.
When it expend my superiority die to make another attack against it when it misses me. That would be a 14 unmodified. I think that hits.
Nope, misses. Oh, unmodified. What's your modifier?
Unmodified. That would be a +5, so 19.
Okay, yeah, that hits then. Sorry, I thought you said 14 modified. I'm like, that doesn't hit.
So damage, it would be a well, that's slightly disappointing. 5 damage.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of just cut deep into its arm as it lunges at you, and it kind of just, its head slowly looks up at you, and you look into its eyes, and it looks into yours, and its last attack is going to try and bite you. The mouth splits into 4 sections, and it jumps forward at you. And that is definitely going to hit with an 18.
I keep forgetting I had to add damage. Okay, then turn that 5 into a 9.
Okay. And that'll be 22 points of damage to you, Darius.
Oh boy. I'm at 2.
Yeah,
Holy crap.
it bites down on the side of your neck and shakes you back and forth. This ichor, this blood, it's ripping onto your skin, sizzling, ripping, tearing through the tendons, the muscle, through the veins and ligaments that form your body, and just shaking you like a rag dog and throwing you against the wall. Briff, I need a death save from you.
I'm good.
Okay, cool. 1 success. Darius, you were at 2 hit points, baby. How you feeling?
Pretty beat up. Pretty kind of dying, kind of.
Well, it's your turn, sir. What do you do?
Okay, so he just kind of staggers up, and just this bleeding, this acidic venom is just kind of digging into his muscle, his veins. If it weren't for the fact that his bones were like, I think it's kind of visible now, but partially most of his bones have sort of been stone to sort of fill in the gaps of where presumably some kind of wound happened on him before, and he just kind of hobbles against the wall, sort of his side, hanging there limply. He is going to end as he's going to charge forward towards this thing and position himself just is there right against the railing, and he is going to swing and use his last maneuver out of the 3 he knows, pushing attack, to try and push this thing into the drink.
Okay, so strength save for it.
Strength save for it.
Okay, and it got a 17.
Ah. Well, that's still damage, assuming I hit. Okay, that's a 15 unmodified, so 20. Oh boy, if this doesn't kill it, I'm boned. My other D8. Friggin', where is it? Getting another one. Okay, that would be a 13 damage.
13. Okay.
13.
Yeah, it cuts very deep, but it's still standing. You kind of cut it across the gut, opening up a larger hole, more of this blood spilling out of it. Oh, okay. And the creature is still standing though.
Okay, and I imagine this acidic blood just sort of pours onto his hand as he's forced to get close and just almost impale himself on this thing. And taking a hint from Lionel, I think 1 extra acid damage is appropriate, even though it may end up killing me.
Yeah, just take 1 point then. As it kind of just drips over your hand, burning and sizzling the flesh. The rest of the party. So Ithar is going to step up now since she can actually get into the fight. And she will attack twice. Hitting twice, actually. That's pretty big for you guys. Oh, that's not a very good damage roll, though. 10 for 15 points, so that's good.
Essentially the equivalent of 1 hit, but whatever.
Yeah, well, this thing does damage, man. That's kind of why it's considered a mini boss fight of the dredge. So anyways,
Mini?
Yeah, mini. And then Tag is going to shoot at it with his crossbow and hit for 5 points. Okay. Dovad.
All right. So things aren't looking good. He sees this. So he's just standing there. He's like, "Roar!" Standing in the middle of this. And he's going to attack recklessly. And he is going to huck the hand axe at this thing. And he's just going to bellow at it, trying to get it to attack him.
He screams, "Tractor!" Okay, go ahead.
You can eat those two, but leave the others alone. All right, so that's going to be 23.
Oh yeah, that hits.
And it's going to be just 8 points of slashing damage as this hand axe thuds into its chest.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just grips his maul in 2 hands, and it would have advantage on any attacks against him.
Yeah, this axe just spins head over heel, and it buries in this thing's chest, and it kind of just like staggers back a bit and looks down at it, and looks up at you and screams again. You see its tongue like reforming in its mouth, kind of the muscles restitching themselves and forming back into this long serpentine tongue. Next up then, stop Ty. Next up then is Sebastian.
Is this thing you said is looking pretty beat up? Yes. So Sebastian looks down at his arm, which is now just rippled with acid, and you can see just the burning flesh and bone. He looks behind him and he sees Briff on the ground, fainting or unconscious, bleeding out. He looks over at his other 2 comrades and the rest of the party, all on the verge of death. And he remembers his promise that no more are going to die today. And they're going to I'm pretty sure, Ty, I'm not 100% sure, but I think I might be bending the rules, but hopefully you're going to let me go with it. But I step forward, and again, I pull out this medallion once more, the Dragon Forge, and I call out to that voice that asked me to pay the price. And I say, please, one more time, I'll take any price, anything. Just help me defend them.
Any price. Okay.
And what I'm suggesting is I take the full damage.
Roll me a luck die.
7.
Okay. You hear back, any price?
Anything.
Any price, then. Dex save for this creature. Oh. You're so lucky. It literally had to roll like less than a 6 to fail, and it got a 5.
Hey.
So it's going to take full damage. So 4d6.
Oh my god, that's pretty good. That is 22 damage.
And how do you kill it?
I imagine that what happens is I stand in front of this creature, and all anyone sees at first is a burst of flame, but that flame quickly turns into a bright light that completely illuminates this dark tunnel that we find ourselves in, and it keeps growing brighter and brighter as Dovad and Darius and whoever's in the front feels this searing heat, and they lose focus on Sebastian. At first, they can see him, but as the light grows brighter, he turns into this black shadow, and then it's completely overturned by light and flame, and they just lose him. He actually turns into like a beacon of flame itself. It's not exhuming from just his mouth, but literally exploding from him. And when the flame clears, there's no longer a long claw standing in front of them. It is just ash, but Sebastian is standing there, and then drops to his knees, and then drops to his face, and his clothes, his skin, his hair, all you see is just black ash, as I imagine this is going to hurt like hell.
Yeah, you're going to take 22 points of damage.
Oh.
In reverb.
You were...
That literally puts me away from 2 HP from actually being outright dead.
I know, and what happens is this amulet in his palm explodes in heat after he like shoots fire from his mouth again. And as the amulet explodes in his hand, it just engulfs the side of his body. And he collapses to the ground unconscious. But the side of his body is burning. Like Two-Face. And as it finally kind of goes out, as you rush over to help him and you turn him over, you see that the left side of his face is just burnt and cracked and scarred, as if he stuck it in a burning pile of charcoal. There are burnt lines going down along the side of his face. It's crackly like burnt tree bark. And I'm guessing people start stabilizing people.
No.
Okay.
Please.
Sebastian, as your left eye opens, and you could even argue that this burning almost looks like scales, but it's burnt flesh though. It's not scales. As your left eye opens, Devad, as you're looking down at him, the thing that you first notice is that the center of the eye is slit like a dragon's eye. And it is a dark red. The price that is paid for power.
So is this when I smash his head with my maul? I'm confused, Ty. Is this what we...
Potentially.
No. So what he does is once his eye comes open, he sees it, and there's probably that moment of pause, but he's still riding that visceral high of when he rages, just before he gets before the exhaustion strikes him, and he reaches down with his left hand and he pulls Sebastian up, and even though this man is taller than him, holding his maul in his right hand, he slings him up over his shoulder, and he looks at the others and says, "Let's go. We're almost out." And he's just going to start trucking.
Yeah, Ithar would pick up Briff, and then the others would be left to carry Darius would carry himself. And then Emran and Tag would grab Fulgrim. And you guys hustle the rest of the way out. You find at the other edge of this conduit, this central area where all the water pools, where now ash drifts through the air with the blue and purple pollen, a tunnel leading upwards. And step after step, the air gets cleaner, it gets fresher, it becomes such a liberating air. You feel like you've been down here for days with the things you've experienced and the fear you felt. And now, as you break the surface and step out onto an open plain, the plain just beyond Ravenport, you see a small copse of trees. And snuffling in the trees are 6 large dire boars. As you shuffle across the ground towards them as quick as you can under the stealth of night, you hear the howls. Unearthly howls. Something like the cross between a child's scream and a wolf's howl. You've heard these things before, Devad. You know what they are. This army, the Reclamation, whatever they call themselves, have brought with them blood hunters. Creatures of dark magic, truly born of the bleak, designed to hunt until their very last breath. And you hear them screaming over the night. You see the torches round over the top of the hill. And you know that they know that you are there. And as you reach the copse of trees, you can see them. These blood hunters, lanky, running on all fours, like some sort of demon-like baboon or something of the similar kind. A head like a wolf, but with tusks like a boar. Its long front legs running as if it were some sort of ape, but it isn't. It is something terrifying. Something otherworldly, undeniably otherworldly. And as it streaks down the hill towards you, moonlight at its back, shadows being cast in long figures, you begin to ride as fast as you can, though you do not know if it'll be fast enough. And that is where we'll end the session.
Oh boy!
I'm not afraid. Truffle, she's a fast runner.
Well, everybody, this was session 5 of Shadow of the Ancients. Thank you so much to Lionel for being our cameo. He's going to be with us for the next 3 to 4 sessions, depending on how long this little arc takes. And I am very excited to have him with us. He's done a fantastic job already establishing his character in this first session. So big thanks to Lionel for stepping in for us and helping us out. Last thoughts. We'll go from Sebastian and move all the way over to Michael. I mean, not Sebastian, Chris, Sebastian, over to Michael.
Yikes. Holy crap, that was intense. Was I not supposed to go? Did I mess it up? I'm going anyways.
No, go ahead. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, that was intense. Lionel, always great to play with you. I'm glad you're the cameo player, and if maybe you want to be the perma cameo player, we should do that because Dovad is a badass, and that was a crazy session. Can't wait for next week. Thanks, Ty.
No problem, man. Going on to Chris Darius.
I was holding my breath in that last narration right there. That was... Yeah, I loved it. It felt like really damn tense. And that's what I loved about it. It was just one thing after another, things kept going wrong, and I felt like we were legit struggling against a hopeless situation, which is always a nice feeling to sort of get as a player. And yeah, of course, Lionel did an amazing job. I look forward to playing with you again.
On to Lionel, my boy.
All right. Well, I was Devad Craghelm of the Devad Vipers, and I want to start by saying thank you, Ty, for the invite. I was actually really very honored to get the invite to play with you guys, and I want to say, you guys, thanks for letting me crash your party. If this is what your sessions are like, man, wow. But I got to say, Ty, what I really liked about this session is, they talk about pacing and pressuring players to give them that sense of urgency, and you did that throughout. It's like we never had a chance to really just, all right, we had these little moments, but then it was like we have to move, and I felt that pressure all the way through. We couldn't rest, and we couldn't so we just had to play by our wits, and it was awesome. Thank you. Looking forward to the next one. I'm gonna actually have to watch the other ones too. Just because I just want to see the ride that these poor guys have been on with you, Ty, because you're a freaking sadistic.
Believe me, I'm starting to realize that now. I'm like, oh man, I am a murder hobo DM. Like dude,
You're running a murder hobo game for serious players.
Dude, so Chris's character has had that lame arm since session 1. So anyways, but dude, thank you so much for playing. I am so happy I finally get to have you, even if it's only in part of the campaign, Lionel. Multi-session, I am going to enjoy this, I can tell. So thank you for joining us. Go check out Two Guys T and D&D. They have great stuff on that channel, great content, along with the campaign that I'm playing on over there with Lionel and Chris, Sebastian Chris. That hopefully we get to start back up again in November. But it's a great group. It's a great channel. They're great guys. Yeah, check them out. Going on to Michael.
Yeah, we've been telling you you're a murder hobo DM from the very beginning. I would just like to point that out. There has been no secret about it. We've been telling you from session 1. And you're just now getting it. So, just pointing that out, Lionel, great to have you. It's a lot of fun. And I kind of had the feeling from the last session that there'd be something from my background that'd pop up. I actually wasn't expecting it to be tagged, though. I was actually expecting it to be the other thing. So I was kind of thinking, oh, how am I going to respond to this other thing? But no, it's him. So now I have to figure out how I deal with him, because Briff was a different person back when they knew each other. So it's definitely going to be interesting. There's some history there, and it's going to come to surface. Something tells me whether Briff wants it to or not. So, great game. About time I actually go down for real, because I'm the only one who hasn't at this point. But yeah, thanks a lot. That was great.
Oh, we're gonna induct him into the lingering injury group.
Yep.
Hey.
By the by,
Yeah,
that
actually,
lame arm.
Go ahead.
All right, go ahead and roll me a
Lame
d20.
arm. For your information, Lionel, I got that. I didn't start with that as a thing. That was lingering injury because screw me, right?
What'd you get? Briff? I can't hear you. You're muted.
My bad. Yeah, I was just kind of thinking what number would be the most realistic. I got a 10.
A 10?
Yikes.
Yep.
Okay, you have broken ribs. This means that you have an internal injury, meaning that every single time you want to make an action in combat, you have to roll a DC 10 con save before you can do anything.
Every time in combat?
Yep, before you can do anything in combat. Or else you lose all of your actions, reactions, and movement.
As for mine, Ty, I don't know if it's cool with you, but from that description, I literally think the only thing I can do is take the natural 1 and lose an eye. And that dragon eye that I have is actually blind.
Okay. Sure.
Or heavy burn scars. That could also work.
No, I think blind eye. That sounds badass to me.
Dude, if you want,
You're a ranged player, and that means you'll have disadvantage on ranged attacks.
Yep.
okay, dude, if you want to take that burden, then sure.
You know,
He's
since I'm like half
smiling.
dragon though, maybe if I get like a cool dragon ability of some kind, you know, that wouldn't be too bad. Just kidding.
I'm not gonna say that you're blind in that eye, but I am gonna do something different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not gonna see things in the same way your other eye does. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Okay.
It just makes sense to me.
So
All right. Well, everybody, that was session 5. Thanks for tuning in. Again, if you like the video, please feel free to like and subscribe. And as always, I hope you guys find yourselves in your future games on a roll.